In the old days, love was pure and true. Now it's just a show for all to view. People use it for their own gain, leaving hearts in sorrow and pain. Once a sacred bond, now just a game. Hearts are broken, never quite the same. Love used to be a beacon bright, now it's lost in the shadows of the night. Oh, how we long for those days of yore, when love was honest forevermore. But now it's twisted, tainted and cruel, leaving us drowning in an endless pool. What can we do? In the spiritual world, all seems bright, but shadows lurk in the dead of night. Half of humanity wears a wicked guise, evil deeds hidden behind virtuous eyes. Beneath the surface, a darkness lies, masks of deceit veiling their lies. In this realm where good and evil collide, the line between them is blurred, hard to decide. So tread carefully in this world so grand, for not all that glitters is gold in the sand. In the spiritual realm where illusions endure, evil and good dance in eternal obscure. Just imagine that. Karma doesn't ask you how you want it. It just comes and take it. So be careful how you treat others on your way up the ladder, cause your way down, trust me. In a world of empty stares, fake love fills the air. Sincerity's distant glare, leaving hearts in deep despair. Truth is lost in a web of lies, hiding behind deceitful eyes. Love that fades and slowly dies, leaving us with heavy sighs. Aching souls in a loveless land, yearning for a genuine hand, but fake love rules with cruel demand, leaving us to understand. In this age of like and retweets, we've forgotten what real love truly means. It's not just about show and tell, but a feeling that makes our hearts swell. It's hard to know who's true and who's fake in a world where appearances are hard to shake. But real love is deeper than a profile pic. It's in the way that someone makes your soul click. So let's not get lost in the digital haze. Let's remember what real love truly conveys. It's not about followers or online fame, but a connection that sets our hearts aflame. In this world of make-believe, they all wear a smile. But behind the scenes, it's just a clever guys, puppets in their show, dancing in their stage. We're all just pieces of their charade. Beneath their mask of joy lies the tangled web, where secrets and deceits are carefully bred. Their lovey-dovey act is just for display. We're all caught up in their twisted play. So let's break free from this illusion so grand, and see through the facade with hearts unplanned. No longer pawns in their game of charade. Let's find our own path and not be swayed. I feel like I'm surrounded with people with strings attached to their back, waiting for their master's command. It's like when I was little, right, and I was reading Pinocchio. Every time that he told a lie, his nose grew. It's just that, in real life, their noses don't grow. Karma just catches. In the shadows we seek, a love so pure and meek, but all that's left is a ghostly echo, a memory bleak, longing for a bond that's true in this world so cold and weak, yearning for the love we knew before the all turned antique, lost in illusions of affection, bleeding like the mist, hollow hearts yearn for connection in a realm dismissed, seeking solace in echoes of the past where love truly exists, but all we find are mere reflections of what love once kissed. Amidst the ruins of our hearts, we search for something real, yet all we grasp are faded echoes of what used to appeal in this world where love has become just a commodity to steal. It's just a little food for thought. My bad. I don't know what's up with me, man. I need to wake up. Blessings, everybody. I hope all y'all have a blessed and humble afternoon. Continue to have a blessed and humble day. This is y'all shorty Rachel. I want to welcome all of y'all to the Writers for Life Brings You the Let's Talk About It podcast, right? It's gonna be this damn alarm. I think it's coming. Anyways, all right. We was live earlier, right? We were supposed to do this whole lot earlier, but I cut it a little short so that I could spend some time with my baby Pops before he went to work. So we back at it, like I said earlier. So I want to, thank everybody. Blessings, Van D Gaming. Von D Gaming's blessings, Commander. What up, nine? My throat's still up fucked up. I can't do the what up, nine. No, there you go. It's coming back. What up, nine? It's coming up. My voice is coming back. Anyways, right. We're gonna be diving down the rabbit hole, man. Earlier we was reacting to current news, right? We it's a lot of stuff going on, right? It's crazy, right? We reviewed and reacted to a teacher, gashing a 5-year-old's eyebrow, the plane crash here in Northeast Philadelphia, right? It was a little close, but not close to Shorty home, right? But we reviewed and reacted to that. The what's going on with Trump and much more. What else? We reacted to a couple things earlier, man. I appreciate everybody who was there. Gave their input, their opinions, man. If you ain't catch it, make sure y'all check the replay, right? There's a lot of stuff going on. I think there was a mom that was found out in the cold. I guess she was an addict or something. I don't know what's going on. We got to, dive down that rabbit hole too. Because she, it was a mom with 2 of her babies there. So I guess they took her kids away from her. But, it's more to that story. And I appreciate everybody that was on this drawing earlier. But, right now, ain't, current news. Unless y'all want to hit the panel, right, and start a topic off with a shorty, have a, little short chit chat. We could do that. We got random topics, random thoughts, right? But unless, I know nobody's going to pop up on the panel, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to dive down the rabbit hole, right? We're going down we're going to dive down the history road. And how can I say it? In the search of figuring out our past, to learn our present, right? To see what we can do for our future, right? I mean, it's up to you how you perceive this journey, right? We've been doing this. This is what, like live number 8 already, like episode number 8 that we've been diving down the rabbit hole. This time we're going to start off with the universe. Then we're going to hit it off with Lilith and Adams, right? On the history of the Bible. Then we're going to go towards the history of our ancestors, right? We're going to do it a little backwards on my panel. Please. I appreciate that. Let's get this Jones started.
Stand about life, death, and consciousness. At the center of this idea is Hugh Everett III's many worlds interpretation, which suggests that for every possible outcome of a quantum event, a new universe is created. If true, it means your consciousness might never actually experience death. Instead, it shifts into a timeline where you survive.
It's kind of crazy, right? Because him saying that, it kind of takes you back to like, he says your consciousness is never, even dead. So it proves, right? Especially the word. That's why I keep suggesting the word. We gotta go check him out, right? Like, this vessel right here is the only thing that dies in this realm, in this part of the world, in this dimension, right? However you want to see, however you want to perceive it, right? And I'm saying it like that because people have a habit of saying it different ways, right? But anyways, in this world, in this dimension, right? In this realm, right? Our body, this vessel is what dies, but our souls, our spirit continue on. They never really do die. Our conscience continues. And it's crazy, right? Because when you look at it, you see scientists all over the world trying to, conserve. How can I say conserve? Or how can I say it? They try to, get you. Is it conserve? I'm trying to find the right word for it. And I'm not in the multiple dictionary. I swear to God. And Google isn't always right. I really do got to always pull this dictionary out, especially when I'm doing poetry, because certain shit just don't add up. But anyways, you got scientists nowadays, right? And it's always been like this, I guess, right? They're trying to put, somebody's conscience before they die or after they die, right, onto a robot. You see where I'm coming from? Like, if you don't know what I'm talking about, that'll be a whole topic for another live. Y'all can go do y'all research. But it's crazy, though, how they are actually doing this type of stuff in science here in this realm, in this world. So, there's got to be some type of truth to it, right? Your conscience, your soul, your spirit continues on after your body dies. So in reality, you never, ever die. But my thing is, right? So does that mean that reincarnation doesn't exist? Or reincarnation exists when this vessel dies, right? Your soul comes out, moves on. And then, when a baby is born, then that soul, kind of like goes into that body, right? Well, I don't know. I'm listen, right? It's crazy. Listen, I'm hoping I'm not confusing a lot of people, but I'm just trying to put 2 and 2 together. Shit, I do got a lot of questions. Listen, I know a lot, right? I ain't perfect, but sometimes I'll be wrong. I'm beyond perfect, and I'm open-minded, which means that I am willing to learn even more and soak that knowledge in to really uncover what it is that I need to uncover. What it is, somewhere along the line, I'll figure that one out the same way y'all will. What y'all got to uncover, what y'all got to do.
Experience death. Instead, it shifts into a timeline where you survive. endlessly escaping what seems inevitable. The implications are profound and unsettling. While you're alive here and now, countless other versions of you might already be dead in parallel realities. The evidence for this isn't hidden. It's everywhere. Let's dive into the truth. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics,
Thank you, Salia.
proposed by physicist
Blessings,
Hugh
blessings,
Everett
John Riaz.
III,
Blessings,
is one of the
everybody.
most mind-bending theories of modern science. Imagine this: every decision you make, every event in your life, and every possibility that could unfold doesn't just happen or not happen, it splits reality into countless parallel universes. In one universe, you might be reading this script, and in another, you might have never clicked on it at all. This isn't science fiction. It's a serious interpretation of quantum theory that seeks to explain the strange, probabilistic behavior of...
Yo, it is crazy, right? This, you know what it gets me to think? It's like I wonder, right? And I questioned this when I was little, right? And I questioned it a few times as I got older. But now listening to this it's like a throwback. Like, I don't know, it's like some type of deja vu. Are the comics real? Like, have y'all read comic books before? Y'all ever watched anime? And I'm not talking about, I mean, listen, there's different types of anime, but there's a lot of anime that, goes into our history books, right? And with him saying this, right? Let's put this, the best example I could put: Marvel, DC, Batman, Spider-Man, multiverses. You see where I'm coming from? Like, it is crazy, right? Because even when you take it to the Bible, and people get mad when I say it, and I've been noticed it, but listen, enough is enough. It's too much evidence, too much proof out there, right? Like, and it makes you question so many things in the Bible. I don't care if you get mad at me or not. Listen, I don't have a religion. I believe in God, nothing more, nothing less. Something created us. We're here. What is our purpose? I don't know. You see where I'm coming from? But at the end of the day, it is so many things, so many inconsistencies with that, right? You see that there's two stories to every person in the Bible, including the Adam and the Eve one. Like, it is so much to that, and we're gonna hit what the Lilith and Adam on our history, our dive down the rabbit hole on the history of the Bible, and much more. So, man, for y'all to understand this live now, y'all will have to go back to all of my other 6 lives that I've done with everybody else to understand the purpose of today's live. And it's mostly to bring awareness for us to learn, each one teach one, right? And like I've told people, if y'all know something more than what is being said here, right, say it. If something is capped, say it. You're not here to be judged, right? Your opinions do matter. Like, listen, at the end of the day, we're not here to judge nobody for their opinions. There's a difference between a statement and an opinion. Now, if you make a statement, you won't have to prove that shit. The same way I'm going to have to prove that shit.
Particles at the quantum level. At its core, the many worlds interpretation suggests that when a quantum event occurs,
Thank you,
reality
Commander.
doesn't choose one outcome over another. Instead, all possible outcomes happen simultaneously, each in its own separate universe. What does this mean for you? It means that every moment of your life has spawned countless alternate versions of reality. In some, you've succeeded brilliantly. In others, you've failed. And in some, you've died. But here's where it gets fascinating and unsettling. According to quantum immortality, your consciousness doesn't experience the universes where you die. Instead, it shifts to a reality where you continue to exist. In other words, you may already be dead in other universes, but to you, it feels like you've survived every close call. This is where quantum mechanics stops being just theoretical.
So if he's saying that if we die in another realm, in another dimension, if we're, whatever happens, whether we're oofed, unalived, you see where I'm coming from? Our conscience doesn't remember, because once your vessel is gone, once it dies, but he said it shifts. How fast does your spirit find a body? So the shifting part, Does the reincarnation go into that? I mean, see, because I'm also learning about reincarnation. Do these two things go hand in hand? Like, 'cause, when a baby is born, they say that, a baby doesn't remember anything. Right? But let's continue. Topics for another library.
And starts to feel deeply personal. Think about Schrödinger's famous cat experiment. In this thought experiment, a cat in a box is simultaneously alive and dead until someone opens the box and observes it. Everett's many worlds interpretation suggests that the act of observation doesn't collapse these possibilities into a single outcome, but instead creates two separate realities. One where the cat lives and one where it dies. Now, replace the cat with yourself. Quantum immortality argues that your consciousness is the observer, and it always continues in the reality where you survive. Consider what this means for your everyday life.
So it always continues in the place where you survive. So can your spirit be in different realms at the same time? Because it's kind of like, it continues in another realm if this one dies. He's confusing me. Not really. Because I think I got it. I just don't want to put my foot in my mouth. Because if the spirit never dies, only the vessel dies, right? So does the conscious really do remember, or does it not remember? You see, now you got me asking questions. More questions than what I already had.
Those near misses, a car swerving just in time, a disease you were lucky to recover from, or a situation that seemed impossible to...
All right. So how many spirits of me, does my spirit duplicate? Like, does it quadruple? You see my point? So the vessel dies in this realm and boom, it hops onto me. Do I remember everything? No, you're saying that no, it doesn't remember because it shifts into another dimension. So I don't remember what happened in that life. Does my body remember what happens in the past life? No, it can't be. I mean, is it the same body? Is my body duplicated in different dimensions? You see where I'm coming from? No matter what, is it always the same me? Or am I a whole nother person in this dimension? Do I evolve bodies, or do I, I'm just curious. I got a wandering mind.
To escape might not be luck at all. They could be evidence of your consciousness jumping to another reality. Every time death should have claimed you, it didn't. Not because of chance, but because of the way reality itself works. The implications are both liberating and terrifying. On one hand, it suggests that you'll never experience your own death, at least not in the way we typically understand it. On the other hand, it raises profound questions about what it means to live. If you can't truly die, does life lose its urgency? Or does it gain a new kind of significance because you're always shifting towards survival?
And that's true. But you said that people can't experience death, but you hear people, that have been brought back, that have died and been brought back. And they say, I've been in hell, or I've seen a relative and they told me to go back. Or, I see the little white light in whatever corner of a dream they see it in. So is he off on this, or is he on this?
These are questions that quantum immortality forces us to confront, and the answers are far from simple. Some of the most mind-blowing truths about this theory are too sensitive to share here. For exclusive insights, join our free Insights Academy newsletter, link in the description. You'll also get a free copy of the Kybalion, available for a limited time only. But let's get back to the implications of this theory. If quantum immortality is real, it's not just a scientific curiosity, it's a revolution in how we view existence. Death, as we know it, might be nothing more than a perspective, a boundary that our consciousness bypasses without even realizing it. The multiverse, if it exists,
See?
would make our lives infinitely complex and interconnected.
Spider-Man. I knew I wasn't tripping. Like I said, doesn't a lot of this remind you of what has been said in these comic books? I mean, I don't know if y'all read. I mean, I read a lot of comic books, not a lot, but if it had to do with like Batman and stuff like that, yeah, I read those comic books. I read a lot of DC, and a lot of stuff like this reminds me, like, yo, multiverses, realms, underworlds, and all this stuff. You see where I'm coming from? Like, a lot of it goes back to like the history books, and sometimes, I mean, and I'm not gonna say I wonder anymore because somebody broke it down to me, and it's crazy that a lot of these stories, are taken back, come from the myths and the theories, from back in the days and stuff like that. So shout out to the word, because he's somebody that's online, and I'm not saying he's the one that broke it down, but shout out to him, because he will break these things down like that. Like, yo, he is somebody that's on here online doing the same thing. And, I got my baby pops, I got my old head across the street. I got a couple of people that'll sit here and break certain things down and really break it down. And I'm sitting here like, oh snap. Then they like, go ahead, keep doing your research. And then, I mean, I just be like, damn. Like, they be on point. But when they talk to other people want to argue. It's the same shit with me. When I talk with anybody, they're like, nah, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm saying, I was like, yo, I didn't just sit here and stuck on one book. I didn't just sit here and stay stuck on one video. I'm on this John actually researching and trying to connect the dots to understand what in the world is going on. Because on some real shit, man, I'm lost in the sauce. And in order for me to find myself, man, I must first find myself. I gotta find myself from wherever the hell I got myself lost in, because this shit is like a maze, yo, believe it or not. Our past, our present, I can't even speak for the future.
With each version of reality playing out simultaneously. In this view, life isn't linear, it's a web of possibilities, with consciousness navigating through the strands where it survives. And that brings us to a critical point. The evidence isn't hidden. If we look closely, there are clues all around us that reality is far stranger and more infinite than we ever imagined. Let's explore them. Quantum immortality is one of the most unsettling implications of Hugh Everett III's many worlds interpretation. It takes the multiverse concept and adds a deeply personal twist that you, as an individual consciousness, may never experience death. Instead, you jump to another timeline where survival is still possible. To the external observer in one universe, you might have died, but to you, the experience of death never comes. It's as though your existence is an unbroken thread moving through realities where life continues. Let's break this down. Imagine a hypothetical scenario. You're in a dangerous situation, say a car accident. In one timeline, the collision happens and your body doesn't survive. But in another, perhaps the brakes work just in time, or a minor shift in conditions means you escape unharmed. Quantum immortality suggests that your consciousness, the part of you that experiences reality, always aligns with the timeline where you survive. In practical terms, it feels as if you're constantly dodging death.
So basically, you're trying to say that every time that I almost, experienced death here in this realm, which was, oh man, I wonder who need the ambulance now. Which, it's been multiple times where, I've had near-death experiences, including, a little accident I almost got into a year ago. Like, that could have right there, me thinking everything was good, like, that could have gotten boom. So that means that in another realm, you're telling me that in another realm, I actually got unalived. My spirit shifted into this realm where there was more of a possibility of me surviving. So, do I feel that shift? Does my head is that how the subconscious is created? I mean, listen, you're leading me to more questions.
even though, in many parallel universes, you don't. But what does this mean for the concept of death itself? Traditionally, we see death as the end, a fixed point where consciousness ceases. Quantum immortality obliterates this notion, replacing it with an infinite series of continuations. From your perspective, you never stop experiencing life, no matter how many times death might claim you in alternate realities. To others, you may die, but to yourself, there's always another path, another survival, another world. The implications of this theory are profound. First, it challenges the way we think about mortality. If death is never truly experienced, does it even exist in the way we believe? And second, it forces us to confront our understanding of selfhood and identity. Are you the same person if your consciousness continues in a slightly different reality? Or do these shifts create entirely new versions of you? These questions delve deep into the nature of existence, and they don't come with easy answers.
So could this type of situation be the reason why in different days we get mood switch? How can I say it? We have mood swings every day because in another realm, in another dimension, we're dying in our spirit or our conscience swifts into whatever dimension we have more possibility of living, right? So my question is, how come I don't remember it? That's what I'm saying. Like, does that stay like in the subconscious? Is that the reason why the subconscious exists, or is the subconscious exist so that it holds memories from the past that people don't want to remember? Because the normal conscious on this realm doesn't remember what happened in that realm. Apparently, because I'm still alive, I'm assuming I never died anywhere else. How in the world does this shit? That's how we time travel? No. See, and that's the crazy part. In every dimension, is it the same body? Do I look the same, or am I a different person? And does when that conscience shift and it enters this dimension into my vessel, right, into my body, does that create multiple personalities? Does that make me feel strong? That's what I'm saying. Is that the reason why people have mood swings every day? Because they'll go to sleep and wake up feeling different, like there's somebody else, or they've experienced something. So one morning they could wake up happy, the next morning they're feeling anxious because they can't even explain what happened. So it's kind of like something happened while they were sleeping, but they can't remember what I don't know. Listen, I can't even put it into words. Could I be close? I don't know. Hopefully I am.
Consider this. Every choice you make, every moment you live through, contributes to this continuous thread of survival. The smallest actions, a turn of the wheel, a moment of hesitation, or even an unconscious decision, can determine which timeline your consciousness aligns with. It's as if you're navigating a vast, interconnected web of possibilities, always moving toward the paths where life continues. Let's take it further. Imagine someone surviving a terminal illness against all odds. Doctors call it a miracle. Others might call it fate. But from the perspective of quantum immortality, it could be that their consciousness has shifted into a timeline where the illness wasn't fatal. To the outside world, it seems improbable or even impossible. To the person experiencing it, it feels like nothing more than the natural continuation of their life.
So you telling me that another realm could affect this realm that I'm in right now? So what happens when too much shifting happens? Do all realms collide into one?
This theory doesn't just alter our view of death, it changes how we understand life itself. If you are perpetually shifting towards survival, how does that affect the meaning of the choices you make? Does life become less significant because it never truly ends? Or does it become infinitely more valuable because every moment contributes to the trajectory of your consciousness?
Mm.
Quantum immortality also raises eerie and unsettling questions. If your consciousness is always escaping death, does that mean you're leaving behind versions of yourself that don't survive?
Oh,
Are there
wow.
countless
That's
universes where
crazy.
you've already died, existing only as memories in the minds of others?
Mm.
And what happens to those other selves? Do they cease to exist? Or do they continue in their own threads,
I'm
independent of your experience?
wondering.
These questions push the boundaries of what we think is possible. They challenge not only our understanding of reality, but also the very foundations of our identity.
Hmm.
If quantum immortality is true, it means we've been living with a false sense of finality, a misunderstanding of death that has shaped everything from our fears to our ambitions.
That's a
As
real
unsettling
interesting
as
way
it
of putting
sounds,
it, yo.
quantum immortality isn't just a theory about death, it's a theory about continuity, resilience, and the profound nature of existence. It forces us to confront the possibility that our consciousness is far more adaptable and far less bound by physical limits than we've ever imagined. So, what does this mean for the world around us? If quantum immortality is real, it means that survival is not just a biological process, but a fundamental aspect of how reality operates.
Fact
And if that's true, it changes everything.
changes a lot.
Let's dig even deeper into what it means to be already dead. The
Oh,
answers might be closer and stranger than you think.
we walking
What does it
around like,
really mean to be already dead?
yo, he basically saying that we are our own personal chain song from Mortal Kombat, yo. Like we sit here and we collect our own souls. Hmm.
It's an unsettling phrase, but in the context of quantum immortality, it reveals a truth about existence that most of us never consider. If Hugh Everett III's many worlds interpretation is correct, then for every timeline where you survive, there are countless others where you don't.
Fact.
Every decision, every event, every moment of your life creates alternate versions of reality.
How
Some
do we
where
know
you
if this is
continue
true
to
though?
live, and others where your consciousness is no longer present. In these other timelines, from the perspective of those left behind, you are already dead. Think about it. Every time you avoided a close call, dodged an accident, narrowly escaped danger, or
See
overcame a life-threatening
what
illness,
I said
there
earlier.
could be a version of reality where you didn't.
Huh.
Yet, your consciousness remains firmly rooted in the timelines where survival is possible. To you, it feels as though you're still alive, but
Hmm.
to someone in another timeline, your story may have already ended. This
That's
duality
crazy.
forces us to confront a strange but profound truth. In countless alternate realities, versions of you no longer exist, making you simultaneously alive here and dead elsewhere. Let's explore this through a thought experiment. Imagine a person who survives a plane crash, walking away from the wreckage while most others on board perish. In their reality, they are the miraculous survivors, defying the odds. But in another timeline, one where their seat was just inches closer to the impact, their consciousness would no longer persist. In that reality, their loved ones mourn their loss. Their life story is complete, and they are remembered as one of the casualties of the tragedy. To their own
Basically, so while many get unalived in one realm, others survived in other realms.
consciousness, however, that timeline is never experienced. They shift to the version of events where they live, unaware that they've died elsewhere. Now, expand this idea to encompass every moment of your life. For
I'm
every
listening.
version of reality where you exist, there are others where you don't. In this sense, you're already dead in countless universes,
Damn, you
your
being harsh
consciousness
about it.
navigating only the threads of survival. It's a chilling thought, but it also offers an entirely new perspective on life and death. From the viewpoint of quantum immortality, death isn't a single definitive event. Instead, it's an infinite branching of possibilities, with your awareness always aligned to the timelines where you continue. But what does it mean to be alive in this context? If your consciousness is constantly shifting towards survival, does it mean that life is an unending journey through the multiverse? Or does it mean that life as we experience it is just a series of perspectives, none of them absolute?
It kind of sounds like shit. My soul isn't always in constant urge of survival. It kind of sounds like I'm living in hell, not just in this real world, in these streets that I already call hell. It seems like I'm in hell in every part of the spiritual realm, dude. That's what you're trying to tell me?
Questions strike at the heart.
No, what you're trying to say is that the Green Reaper is chasing me, and no matter what realm I'm in, I'm being followed by the Undertaker, waiting for me. It's like shit. It's like, all right, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to get on this damn ride, right? And by the time I get back down from this ride, I have the damn Undertaker waiting for me because the Grim Reaper already met me at the top. What the fuck?
Part of what it means to exist. If death is an illusion, then so too might be our understanding of life itself. Consider the philosophical implications. If death is only a boundary that consciousness bypasses, does it even hold the weight we've given it? Religions, traditions, and even laws have been built on the assumption that death is the ultimate endpoint. But if quantum immortality is true, then death is more like a horizon, a line you can never actually reach. This could explain why so many cultures have long believed in concepts like reincarnation or eternal life. Perhaps these ideas weren't just metaphorical, perhaps they were intuitive glimpses into a deeper truth. On a more personal level, quantum immortality raises profound questions about identity. If you are alive in one timeline but dead in another, which version of you is the real one? Are you a single consciousness moving through a web of possibilities? Or are you an infinite collection of selves, each existing in its own parallel reality? And if the latter is true, does your sense of self become fragmented, or is it unified by the thread of your experiences?
That's crazy, and that's true. Like, yo, you see me question all this? Like, damn, like if there's a me in every realm, which one of me is the real one? I'm even questioning it. Is this the real one? Are we living in a simulation? And if this is a simulation, where the heck is the real me? Where are you controlling me from? Because I sure as hell feel real. I thought I was real. Shit. Right now, I feel like a leprechaun. I'm trying to reach the pot of gold. Shit, I need to get one of them shoes. I need me a Lucky Charm. What the fuck? Get off this cloud, Ray. Oh, this is crazy.
These questions don't have easy answers, but they force us to confront the limitations of our current understanding. Most of us think of life as linear, a single thread that begins with birth and ends with death. But quantum immortality suggests that life is far more complex. It's not a straight line, but a constantly branching tree, with each branch representing a different version of reality. In some branches, you thrive. In others, you falter. And in many, you are already gone. But this isn't just a theory to ponder. It's a lens through which to view the choices we make and the lives we lead. If you are already dead in countless universes, then the life you are experiencing right now takes on a unique and profound significance. It is the thread you are currently following, the timeline where your consciousness resides. And if that's true, then every moment matters. Not because it's your only life, but because it's the one you're living now. So how do we reconcile this paradox? How do we make sense of a reality where we are both alive and dead, depending on the timeline? The answers lie not just in science, but in philosophy, spirituality, and the way we choose to live our lives. Let's continue peeling back the layers of this mystery by examining the evidence around us. As strange as it sounds, the clues are hiding in plain sight.
I always say that.
Quantum immortality might sound like an abstract theory reserved for the realms of quantum physics, but its implications touch upon real-world phenomena that many of us have encountered, or at least heard about. From miraculous survivals to eerie shifts in collective memory, the evidence for this unsettling concept may be hiding in plain sight. Let's start with near-death experiences. Have you ever heard someone say, "I should have died, but somehow I didn't"? These are the kinds of moments where life seems to defy logic. A person narrowly escapes a car crash, surviving a situation that seemed impossible to walk away from. A patient diagnosed with a terminal illness suddenly recovers against all odds, baffling doctors and leaving their loved ones speechless. In these moments, we often chalk it up to luck, fate, or divine intervention. But what if there's something deeper at play? Quantum immortality provides an explanation that...
Word, do you got your soul intact? I think I hopped real quick into this guy. He just took some of your lines. Come get him.
Aligns with these improbable events. The individual's consciousness simply continues in a timeline where survival was still possible. Take the case of a hiker who falls from a cliff, tumbling down what should have been a fatal drop, only to land in a way that leaves them bruised but alive. Or the person who misses their flight at the last minute, only to learn later that the plane crashed with no survivors. These incidents aren't just remarkable, they resonate with something fundamental in us, a feeling that life has somehow bent the rules in their favor.
Trying to say that, life has done that for the chosen ones only? Or is you trying to say that once our conscious, shifts into this dimension where we're somehow alive and dead, right? And it enters my body, it's, letting me know that something's going to happen on some deja vu type shit. So basically what you're saying that what is deja vu in our realm, right, is just letting us know that in another realm, everything just collapsed. You in that realm don't exist no more. Now people are mourning you. That's basically what deja vu is, right? Or is deja vu, yeah, because, they say deja vu is having a feeling, being in a place, right, or seeing something that you seen before but never experienced. So is that what, deja vu is in this room, right? That's basically what you're describing, deja vu. Basically, we're feeling it over here, but it hasn't happened to us. It happened over there. So we're seeing something that we never seen before, but it's because we experienced it in that realm, right? Am I breaking it down a little better now? I mean, because you had me in a loophole for a second. I was trying to figure out how in the world do I come back up the rabbit hole to catch a, deep breath real quick, because you was suffocating me. I mean, my brain didn't know which way to go and try to, understand what you were saying, but I think I get it. It took me a minute, but trust me, that's why I say I can never find nobody in this world as slow as me, okay? Listen, I apologize to my audience, but let's continue.
Quantum immortality suggests this isn't coincidence. It's the mechanics of reality itself, funneling consciousness into survivable timelines. Another curious phenomenon that may hint at quantum immortality is the Mandela effect. This is the collective misremembering of historical events or cultural details, like people swearing Nelson Mandela died in prison when he, in fact, didn't, or insisting that certain lines in movies, logos, or even world events happen differently than they are recorded. Some theorists propose that these discrepancies could be glimpses into alternate realities, timelines we may have shifted from without realizing it. While skeptics attribute the Mandela effect to faulty memory or groupthink, it's worth considering the possibility that these errors are artifacts of a multiverse where events unfolded differently. Have you ever felt like something in your life has subtly changed? A familiar street corner that looks slightly off, a conversation you're convinced happened, but others deny,
Deja
or
vu.
even objects in your home appearing in places you didn't leave them. While
Deja
these
vu.
experiences are often dismissed as tricks of the mind, quantum immortality invites us to question whether they could be evidence of minor shifts between timelines. It's as if reality occasionally reveals its seams, giving us fleeting glimpses of the multiverse at work. Quantum mechanics itself offers clues that reality is far stranger than we think. Consider the famous double-slit experiment, where particles behave as though they exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed. This suggests that reality at its core is
That's crazy. And the fact that, shout out to the word once again, he wasn't lying when he was saying that we share certain genes with fruits and vegetables. Like, oh shit. So, was my conscience a fruit at one point in time? You know what? Let's get back to the video because my head is going everywhere.
probabilistic, not deterministic, more a web of possibilities than a solid, fixed structure. If this is true for particles, why wouldn't it also apply to the larger fabric of existence, including the paths our lives take? Let's not forget the stories of people who experience impossible survival. During wartime, soldiers have been found alive in conditions that defy explanation, shielded from explosions by mere inches. Pilots whose planes should have crashed walk away unharmed, as if the laws of physics themselves bent to ensure their survival.
So you're telling me that today you're going to answer me the reason why I've survived through so many events where I shouldn't have not been here, but I'm still here? You saying that that's the... Wait. I just thought that, I was being shielded by God. Like, shit. I mean, others kept saying, hey, you're the chosen one. I'm over here like, chosen one, my ass. Like, shit. But it's like, he does kind of make sense. The same way word makes sense when he talks about what he talks about. And if you research after what they say, I like researching. I'm not just... Listen, I'm not satisfied when one person tells me one thing. Now, if I hear more than one person saying something similar, and it sounds very similar to what my old heads used to say, oh, I'm definitely going down that rabbit hole. Like, oh, wait, something, something in the world is trying to tell me something. So go figure out what it is. Don't put your foot in your mouth. Do your research before you talk. So,
what if these aren't isolated miracles, but expressions of quantum immortality, where consciousness inevitably aligns with the timeline that allows it to continue? Some might argue that these occurrences are just statistical outliers,
we got the beautiful
rare
Chicago
but entirely possible within the scope of probability. Yet, quantum immortality pushes us to consider a more profound perspective. If your consciousness is always shifting to the reality where you survive, then what seems rare to others is, in fact, inevitable for you.
That shit always got me to think. You know that when I was little, right? And I mean, sometimes I think about it now that I'm older, right? I do question it. Like, why is it that, right? It feels like in reality, I'm the only person in the world walking, right? There's people around me. I see them. But sometimes I wonder, right? In reality, I'm only seeing everything that evolves around me, unless I'm listening to somebody else, right? Or I'm next to somebody else experiencing something, right? But other than that, right? In reality, everything evolves around me because I can't see your story unless I was there with you. You see where I'm coming from? When I close my eyes, what happens? You see where I'm coming from? Like, and then when you really look at it, you can't see behind you. Only... Like, everything really evolves around me every day. I know I got kids. I know, there's people around me that love me and care for me, right? But it's like, why is it that, we can't see everything at once? Can you really, step outside your body and observe certain stuff? Like, it gets you to think.
To the external world, it's luck, or improbability. To you, it's the only outcome you could experience. This doesn't mean quantum immortality is always comforting. It raises unsettling questions about the versions of you left behind in timelines where survival didn't occur. Are they merely echoes in the multiverse? Or do they exist in their own right, continuing along paths you'll never know? And what about the times when survival feels like a curse rather than a blessing? If quantum immortality ensures continuity, does it also mean you're locked into an endless cycle of survival, no matter how difficult the circumstances? The evidence for quantum immortality isn't confined to scientific experiments or theories. It's embedded in the stories we tell, the events we witness, and the unexplainable moments that shape our lives. Whether it's the soldier who defied death, the hiker who fell but lived, or even your own experiences of narrowly escaping harm, these events challenge the narrative of death as a definitive end.
that
What
is
does all
crazy
this
though,
mean
right?
for us? If quantum immortality is
It's crazy how we question so many things though, but on some real shit, if you really look at it, right? Like every day you wake up, right? You wake up by yourself. I mean, unless you got your kids, I wake up by myself. The majority of the time, I wake up with a baby on my back. Well, she's not even a baby no more. She's 8, and she still comes into my room when I'm asleep, right? And jumps into me like I could be in a sofa, and she'll still be on top of me. It's like I'm a mama kangaroo with a Jimmy that I can't seem to pop the nipple off, right? But on some real shit, growing up, I always wondered, right? It's some real shit if you really look at it when you stand up, right? Like you just look at it, you see yourself, but it's like you're playing a game on 3D. I mean, not 3D, on a third person. Is it third person, first person? Like how it's like you the camera and you only see the hands, the gun, all that stuff. I used to always wonder, like, does everybody see the world the way, right? I wonder if when they look to the left and the side, that's the only way they can see. They can see from the front, the left, the right, but you can never see to the back unless you turn your head. Like I used to always wonder, like, damn, can I come outside of my body and see certain things? But no, I had to learn how to live, off of vibrations and stuff like that. Like for a minute, when I would say I was a little, how can I say it? Like I was a little schizo. I was, I thought the world was against me, right? So it's like I have a habit of walking around with headphones and playing music and stuff like that. So I feel the vibrations. How can I say it expands my other senses? Like it forces me to look at my surroundings even more, observe and stuff like that. Because basically having headphones on while you're walking outside of the street, even though you can hear, right? It's kind of like losing one sense because you're only hearing the music, right? You can't really hear your surroundings. So now you have to be extra cautious. You have to be more careful. Like you can't see who's behind you. So you have to pay attention to the shadows, right? While you're paying attention to what's on your left, your right, and on your front. Like shit be crazy. Man, listen, learning how to survive wasn't easy, but shit, I sure as hell became. I went from a survivor to a warrior. I keep telling people, man, like a lot of us are way more than survivors, we're warriors out here. And it's crazy that, out because I didn't feel safe out there in the streets, I had to, hyphen them other senses. But it's weird how all that works. And I used to always wonder, like, are people this, like, why is it that, every time I try to, every time that I was a near-death experience, I, I wasn't gone like the people around me that experienced almost the same thing I did. Like that should be crazy. It'd be a lot of thoughts. So yeah, I'm like, damn. But when I was young, I didn't know shit about the quantum world. Some real shit. I thought it was nothing more than just comic books and entertainment. But who would have knew that now that I'm older, right? I'm looking into this stuff and taking into consideration, like, damn, this could be true. One of the stories that we was reading as kids, like, is there some truth to that shit? Like, damn. Man, I don't know how many people feel like that. But shit, I know that I have a lot of questions. I know that I know a lot. But at the end of the day, I don't know everything, and I'm still learning.
real, it forces us to reconsider how we understand life, death, and the choices we make. It suggests that we live in a world far more interconnected and layered than we've ever imagined. A multiverse of infinite possibilities where survival is not just chance, but a fundamental property of consciousness itself.
So you're saying a continental property of consciousness itself, right? All right. So you're trying to say that when we're sleeping and we're having dreams, right, of things that we haven't experienced, right? Because you have dreams of things that you've experienced. You have nightmares of things that you experienced, but you also have nightmares of things that you've never experienced a day in your life, right? And you have dreams of things that you've never experienced a day in your life, but those things feel so real that when you wake up, you'll be like, what the fuck? Then, maybe a day later, 2 days later, maybe a week later, you come across, a situation, right? But it feels like the dream you just had or the nightmare you just had, or like some type of deja vu, like, oh shit, I'm standing, but I've been here before, but I've never been here before. Like, how in the world am I seeing this right here, but it feels like the dream I had? Deja vu? I mean, did I just experience my dream in real life? Is that what you're trying to say? Now, I know what that feels like. I've been in a situation like that, and I was like, hold the fuck up. Today feels like the day I was dreaming of. I mean, I feel like this right here happened in my dreams 2 weeks ago. I feel like I'm experiencing some type of, am I understanding what you're telling me right? Hopefully I am.
But these implications aren't just theoretical. They demand that we rethink how we live. Let's take a closer look at the nature of consciousness and its role in this incredible journey. If quantum immortality suggests that your consciousness continuously aligns with survivable realities, it raises a profound and unavoidable question. What exactly is consciousness? Is it merely a byproduct of your brain's activity, or is it something far greater? Something that...
Nigga, you make it seem like my consciousness could fix the world or save the world somehow. You're making it seem like through my consciousness, I could probably travel back in time or probably to the future and change some shit. I don't know. But, let's continue to learn. That was just how I perceived what he just said. But, you making it seem like I could do a lot of things while I'm asleep. Because if I could experience a dream in real life, right, and it feels like deja vu, and shit, y'all know the definition of deja vu. Damn, you're telling me that in my dream I could probably see the future? Because if I dreamed it a week or two ago and I'm experiencing it a week or two later, right, and I'm thinking about my dream now while I'm in the middle of it, you're telling me I had a chance to probably change what happened that day throughout the course of that day? You know what? Let's continue. My random thoughts be, my bad. Sometimes they overachieve me or underachieve me. I don't know. My thoughts be crazy. I'm so sorry. I need to get out of fairy tale world. I can sit here and really create a story.
Transcends physical limits and binds you to the multiverse itself. Most of us take consciousness for granted. It's the lens through which we experience reality, but we rarely stop to question what it is or how it works. Scientists, philosophers, and spiritual thinkers have debated the nature of consciousness for centuries, and yet no single explanation has been universally accepted. What quantum immortality does, however, is force us to confront the possibility that consciousness is the key to understanding existence itself. Let's start with the basics. Traditional neuroscience argues that consciousness arises from the brain, an emergent property of neural activity. By this logic, when the brain ceases to function through trauma, disease, or death, consciousness ceases as well. But if that's true, then quantum immortality shouldn't be possible. Instead, quantum immortality implies that consciousness is not confined to the brain at all. It suggests that your awareness is something more fundamental, something that can survive even the cessation of the body it's tied to.
I mean, it must be some truth to this, because if not, scientists will not try. They will not be trying, or I mean, they probably have already succeeded, right? Probably have already succeeded in where they're trying to take people's consciousness and store it into the chip of a robot, the brain of a robot. You see where I'm coming from? I mean, they even have shows like this showing it to us in our faces. So I was like, oh, I wouldn't take away this possibility at all. What's crazy, I actually believe this possibility. It must survive, because if not, they wouldn't be even experimenting with it at all right now.
This idea isn't new. Many ancient spiritual traditions have long posited that consciousness exists independently of the physical body. Hindu and Buddhist teachings describe the self as a transient passenger in an eternal cycle of rebirth, while some indigenous cultures view consciousness as interconnected with the universe itself. In these perspectives, death is not an end, but a transformation, a shift in the state of being. Quantum immortality brings these age-old ideas into the realm of modern science, suggesting that consciousness may indeed operate beyond the material limits we've always assumed. But what does this mean in the context of the multiverse? If your consciousness can jump to another reality when one timeline ends, then it must be something like an observer, a force that perceives and navigates reality but isn't bound by it. This aligns intriguingly with quantum mechanics, where observation plays a critical role in shaping out.
So wouldn't that lead to say that your conscience and your spirit are two different things? I mean, am I guessing wrong? Am I guessing correctly? Is you telling me that my conscience and my spirit are two different things? One is bound to me, I guess, and the other one is not bound to me. It's bound to the multiple me's.
Navigates reality, but isn't bound by it. This aligns intriguingly with quantum mechanics, where observation plays a critical role in shaping outcomes. In the double-slit experiment, particles behave as though they exist in all possible states until observed, at which point they choose a definitive path. What if consciousness is the observer, the force that determines which reality is experienced? This opens the door to a fascinating yet unsettling possibility. Consciousness could be the engine driving your journey through the multiverse. If that's true, then your identity, your sense of self, isn't tied to a single body or timeline, but is instead the thread that connects countless versions of you across infinite realities. This idea has profound implications for how we understand existence. Are you one person, or are you the sum of all your possible selves? And if you're constantly shifting to survivable timelines, does that mean there's a version of you in every conceivable reality? But here's where it gets even stranger. If your consciousness is navigating the multiverse, is it doing so deliberately or passively? Are you simply a passenger in this endless journey, or do your choices, both conscious and subconscious, determine which paths you follow? Some physicists and philosophers suggest that intention, focus, and even belief may play a role in shaping the realities you experience. In this view, your thoughts and decisions are not just actions within a single timeline. They are ripples that influence the multiverse itself. This raises another critical question. What happens to the versions of you that are left behind? If your consciousness shifts to a timeline where survival is possible, what becomes of the reality you left? Do those versions of you continue, independent of your awareness, or do they cease to exist altogether? It's a haunting thought, one that challenges the very idea of selfhood. If your consciousness is the thread connecting multiple realities, then perhaps there is no singular you at all, only an endless array of perspectives. Quantum immortality also...
So even without him saying that or breaking it down like that at this point, right, it leads back to my first question, right? Am I the same person in every other in every other dimension, in every other realm? If my conscience, right, my conscience, was it my original conscience, right? Because I mean, they say you have your conscience and then you have that subconscious. Which one is the one traveling? Because in this realm, my conscience only remembers what I do and what has happened in this realm. Now, they say my subconscious, right? When you speak to like a psychiatrist, a therapist, a doctor, anybody, right? Your subconscious is what stores, I guess the past memories that you don't even want to remember, but at times surface, and all that stuff, right? Certain things that'll trigger and boom, take out memories from the subconscious, bring it to your conscious. But then again, is your subconscious, right, what creates these dreams and these nightmares that weeks later, maybe days later, right, you end up seeing in real life that end up having make you have this feeling of deja vu. Like, oh shit, your dreams are now in reality. Like you've never experienced this situation, right? That you're experiencing this day, but you lived it before somehow. And it throws you back to a dream or a nightmare that felt so real that you woke out of. I don't know. We're gonna play a couple more minutes of this, right? This is like 20 more minutes of this. So let's see. Let's stop it at. We're gonna play 10 more minutes of this video, and then we'll do a part 2 on the next live, right? We'll continue this video on part 2. I mean, on the next live, my bad. And then we're gonna dive down the history of the Bible. This right here is crazy, man. Let us show what you are thinking, what you think, how you feel about this, right? Down below. For those of you catching the replay, if you haven't subbed up, man, make sure you sub up because a shorty does not schedule lives. I just pop up, man. And I have all my shorts on a different channel, right? In the description box down below. You will see the link to my shorts channel where I have all my poetry, right? And different types of shorts over there, right? So make sure y'all go check that out over there, right? And I also have my second channel and my Philly channel. So I'm gonna be leaving links to to those channels in my description box down below for y'all to go check out. Man, this is crazy, yo. So let's play the next 10 minutes of this video, right? And then move on to the next topic, guys. The link is pinned for anybody that wishes to come up and talk to a shorty, right? I've left it open, right? I'm gonna do 10 more minutes of this and then move on to the next topic. Nobody's come up, so we're gonna move on. Like I'm not trying to be like 10 hours on this joint, but I really do want to, review and react to these videos.
Also forces us to confront the nature of death. If consciousness never truly experiences its own end, then what is death really? Is it simply the point at which one version of you ceases to exist?
Oh shit, we got the word in the building, yo. Listen, what the hell was I? Did I say Candyman? Did I ever mention Candyman? I swear to God, when you say Candyman, 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 boom, he pops up with all his bees. Did I mention word 3 times today? Oh shit, you can't mention the devil without Lucifer popping up. Yo, make sure y'all go check out the word. We was just talking about you, yo. Make sure y'all go check out the word, man. 9%. Coach D, aka Coach D, yo. Like I said, great conversations, great topics. You can't listen, man. That's what I get. I think I mentioned the word like 3 times. I said word. This man popped up like Candyman on a pen. It was like saying Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, blood, and that bitch right behind. Like, oh shit. Yo, remember guys, don't ever say word 3 times because as soon as you get off on one screen back into the other screen, that nigga on the panel like, not on the panel, in the chat like Candyman, yo, for real. If you see any bees behind you, just know it's because we mentioned this name 3 times and he came from the dead, like, even though he's alive, right? God give this man his roses, yo, because listen, there ain't gonna be no other word, yo. Like, can't nobody break this shit down like the word. So make sure y'all go check him out, man. If y'all confused, if y'all lost on these type of topics, like I said earlier, he is the person to go to. The light bringer is here. This nigga came out like the devil himself. Shit, Lucifer. Hold on, baby. Give me 1 second. Let me press play. All right, let's play. Let's play the next 10 minutes, y'all. Make sure y'all go check out the Word on some real shit. All jokes aside, man. Great conversations, great topics. And for those of you that are just as slow as the shorty or maybe slower, man, the Word will break this jaw down like you in kindergarten.
In a particular timeline, or is it a transition, a moment where your awareness seamlessly shifts to another thread of reality? In this view, death becomes less of a finality and more of a process, a boundary that consciousness crosses without even realizing it. But let's not overlook the emotional and philosophical implications of this idea. If you can never truly die, does that mean life loses its urgency? Or does it gain a new kind of significance, precisely because every moment contributes to the trajectory of your existence across the multiverse? These questions aren't just theoretical, they strike at the heart of what it means to live. Quantum immortality suggests that your consciousness is both infinite and deeply interconnected with the structure of reality, but it's up to you to decide what that means for how you live your life. Finally, consider this. If consciousness is the observer that navigates the multiverse, then perhaps its true nature is far greater than we've ever imagined. It might not just be the lens through which you experience reality, but the very force that shapes it. In this sense, your awareness is not just a passenger in the multiverse, it is an active participant, constantly influencing the paths you take and the worlds you inhabit. This isn't just a scientific or philosophical question, it's a deeply personal one. What does it mean to be conscious, to exist, to navigate a reality that is infinite and ever-changing? The answers may lie not just in understanding the mechanics of quantum immortality, but in embracing the profound mystery of consciousness itself. And as we'll see, this understanding can lead to an entirely new way of living, a life unburdened by fear and full of infinite possibility. If quantum immortality is real, it doesn't just challenge our understanding of life and death, it rewrites the rules entirely.
You ain't challenged me on, life and death. You kind of you just had me raise more questions, but Word had already answered them. So like I kept saying throughout this live, man, go check out the Word. And I'm not putting Word on a pedestal for those of you that are wondering. It's just that, listen, it's a few people here on social media that are on point with what they say. And when you hear what he says and y'all go do your research, you will see that at least 95 to 98% of the time, and I'm going to say 98% of the time, Word is correct in what he is saying. So it's a few people that are on here giving y'all information that other people are saying, I'm charging you for, or I want some money, right? Or you better smash that like button. He's giving it to y'all for free. He's taking time out of his day, which he doesn't have to do, to give y'all this information. So, listen, man, y'all prefer to go pay for some information that's misleading and false the majority of the time, or, go watch somebody that's giving you this information for free. It's crazy. He should charge. You know what? I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I can't tell people what to do. Some people go like, how are you going to tell him what to do? I said, it's crazy. He should charge motherfuckers for this shit, because half the motherfuckers want me saying he wrong. But if y'all go do your fucking research, the videos we've been reacting to on this channel, right? And shout out to the people that DM me these videos. Don't stop DMing me videos, man, because it takes me a minute to sit here and, try to save some videos, man. Y'all save a shorty some time, man, and it helps me out, man. It does. Don't stop DMing me these videos, yo. Keep expanding my mind. I'm willing to learn, all right? Other motherfuckers don't want to learn, a shorty does, all right?
The idea that you can never truly experience your own death forces us to confront existential questions that humanity has grappled with for centuries. What does it mean to live if death is an illusion? What happens to concepts like legacy, meaning, or morality when the ultimate endpoint we fear is no longer part of the equation? These aren't just abstract musings. They're questions that go straight to the heart of what it means to be human. Let's start with the idea of fear. For most of us, the fear of death is one of the most primal forces in our lives. It shapes our choices, our ambitions, and even the way we relate to others. We save for the future, cling to routines, and avoid risks because we believe life is finite and fragile. But what happens when that belief is shattered? If quantum immortality means you never truly end, does that eliminate the fear of death or replace it with something far more unsettling? On the one hand, this theory offers a kind of liberation. If death isn't real, then many of the limitations we impose on ourselves might lose their grip. Would you live more boldly, take greater risks, or pursue your passions without hesitation if you knew you couldn't fail in the ultimate sense?
Oh, that's a good question. So then I got another question for you since you got that question. What do you call us that are already bold? Those that fall, right, and pick themselves up fast and learn and teach. What do you call that? I mean, we're already brave enough. We're not scared to speak up, right? No, listen, man. There's no filters in our mouths, no hairs in our tongues, right? We ain't ashamed of who we are and what we say. Stand 10 toes down. We're already like this. I mean, are we already like this, or does it have to take somebody to instill this in us, or are we born like this? Because I swear to God, I think I was born like this. I don't know. I was born like this. Like, fuck that shit. But then again, it's my opinion. I apologize, sir. You still got like 8 more minutes.
The fear of failure might still exist, but the fear of annihilation, that deep existential terror, might fade. This could open the door to a freer, more expansive way of living, unburdened by the constraints of mortality. On the other hand, quantum immortality raises profound ethical dilemmas. If your consciousness is guaranteed to continue, does that mean you could become reckless or even apathetic about the consequences of your actions? After all,
Shit, my baby pop claims to be God all the time. I'm about to borrow a pair of fucking God slippers. Hey, God, can I borrow your slippers? Yo, this is crazy, yo.
if one version of you is always going to survive, what does it matter what happens in the other timelines? This isn't just a theoretical question, it's a moral one. The knowledge that you'll always live on could lead to a dangerous detachment from the lives of others, whose consciousnesses might not follow the same rules, or at least not in ways you can perceive. Then there's the question of meaning. Many people find purpose in the idea of legacy, leaving something behind that will outlast them, whether it's a work of art, a family, or a contribution to society. But if death is an illusion, what happens to the idea of legacy? If you never truly leave, is there still value in what you create? Or does meaning itself shift, becoming...
That's a great question. Does meaning itself shift? I mean, wouldn't the legacy continue? Because it's your conscience that's shifting once you're gone, right? So apparently and allegedly you're gone from that realm, but now your conscience has shifted into another realm, into another dimension. So now whatever body, right, and spirit, I guess, it united with to enter. I mean, but the people in that other realm are still there. You're the one that's not there. Now you got me back and listen. You ain't gonna keep confusing me. You know what? I'm gonna listen to the word from now on. Because you kind of like, I feel like you're saying the same thing in different phrases, different ways.
Less about permanence and more about the immediate experience of life. This isn't a new question. Philosophers have long debated the nature of meaning in a potentially infinite universe. Existentialists like Jean-Paul Sartre argued that life has no inherent meaning and it's up to us to create our own. Quantum immortality echoes this idea, suggesting that the significance of your life isn't determined by its length or finality, but by how you choose to navigate the infinite possibilities available to you. In this sense, every decision you make, every moment you live, becomes an act of creation, shaping the reality you inhabit. The implications don't stop there. If death is an illusion, what about morality? Many moral frameworks are built on the idea of finitude, the notion that our time is limited and our actions carry weight because of it. Religions often tie morality to the afterlife, promising reward or punishment based on how you lived. But if your consciousness continues indefinitely, does morality become less about cosmic judgment and more about the quality of the existence you experience? In other words, if your choices shape the timeline you follow, then morality might become a matter of alignment, choosing actions that lead to realities you want to inhabit. This idea isn't as abstract as it sounds. Think about how your decisions ripple outward, creating the circumstances of your life. Choosing kindness over cruelty, courage over fear, or creativity over complacency doesn't just affect others. It affects the reality you experience. If quantum immortality is true, then every choice you make could influence the version of the multiverse you align with. In this sense, morality isn't just about doing what's right for others. It's about creating the kind of existence you want to live in. There's also the unsettling possibility that quantum immortality could create a sense of detachment. If death isn't real, does life lose its urgency? If you're constantly shifting to survivable timelines, does it mean the stakes are lower, that nothing really matters? This fear of detachment has been explored in countless works of fiction, where immortality often leads to boredom, despair, or a loss of connection to the world. But quantum immortality offers a twist. You're not truly immortal, you're just always continuing in some form. The stakes remain high, not because you might end, but because every timeline is unique. Once you leave one reality behind, you can never return to it. And that brings us to the ultimate paradox of quantum immortality. It simultaneously makes life infinite and finite. While your consciousness might continue indefinitely, each individual timeline is fleeting, a momentary thread in the vast web of the multiverse. This means that life still holds urgency, not because you'll cease to exist, but because each version of you experiences its own singular journey. The choices you make, the relationships you build, and the experiences you embrace all carry weight because they are specific to the timeline you're in. So, what do we do with this knowledge? If quantum immortality is real, it doesn't just change how we think about death, it transforms how we think about life. It challenges us to let go of fear, to embrace possibility, and to take responsibility for the realities we create. It forces us to confront the infinite nature of existence while cherishing the singularity of the present. And perhaps most importantly, it reminds us that life is not about escaping death. It's about fully inhabiting the moments we're given. As we continue to explore this concept, we'll see how understanding quantum immortality can empower us to break free from fear and live with purpose. But first, we need to confront the illusion of death itself and what it truly means to let go of.
He said confront the illusion of death itself. Dude, you know if somebody actually does get hit by a car, they die, right? If a bullet goes through them, right? Like through their brain or some shit like that, or a vital organ, oof. I mean, if they can't save them on time, their body is gone, right? Wait a minute. I get what you're saying, our conscience continues, but the body doesn't.
If quantum immortality is real, then death, as we understand it, is nothing more than an illusion, a boundary our consciousness never truly crosses. But breaking free from this illusion requires more than just understanding the theory. It demands a profound shift in perspective, a willingness to let go of deeply ingrained fears, and the courage to live as though the limitations we've imposed on ourselves no longer hold power.
So, all right, we're gonna pause it right there. We're gonna leave it right there. This shit is crazy. I mean, I get a lot of it, but it's kind of like, I mean, listen, telling people that live like, they shouldn't have no fear at all. Like, there's no consequences behind our actions. I mean, I don't know about that. But, we're going to move on to the next one, right? And to get a better understanding of this word, we'll break this down for y'all. Make sure y'all go check out to the word, man. Sub up, right? Make sure y'all smash that like button for him and help him bring awareness, right? Because, like I said, man, out of all the people that I've sat here and researched after they've sat here, explained and broken things down like this, right? Word has been on point 95 to 98%, and I'm gonna say 98% of the time. All right, because at the end of the day, you shouldn't even be going by he say, she said. Don't even go by what I say. Even when I bring awareness to something, I urge a lot of people to do your own research. Don't just go by what I'm saying. Right, the people that climb mountains and jump off buildings must have heard this guy. I'm sorry. Oh shit, I have the mic over here. I forgot I wasn't using the other mic. Oh shit, I'm sorry if I blew somebody's ears off. Oh shit, only commander Yo, let me get the other video ready. Yo, let us shorty know what y'all think about this shit, man. At the end, I'm telling you, I thought he was leading people to suicide, because I'm saying, like, I get the thing about the consciousness, but dude, don't forget that in this realm, our bodies, once they gone, they don't come back, man. Our vessels, once they gone, man, then our conscious and our spirit gotta shift. You see? Phew. Dude leading people to suicide, like. Only commander say with hearts unplanned, no longer pawns in their game of charade. Let's find our own path and not be swayed. I feel like I'm surrounded with people with strings attached to their back, waiting for their master's command. It's like when I was little, right, and I was reading Pinocchio. Every time that he told a lie, his nose grew. It's just that, in real life, their noses don't grow. Karma just catches. In the shadows we see a love so pure and meek, but all that's left is a ghostly echo, a memory bleak, longing for a bond that's true in this world so cold and weak, yearning for the love we knew before the all turned antique, lost in illusions of affection, bleeding like the mist, hollow hearts yearn for connection, any realm dismissed, seeking solace in echoes of the past where love truly exists, but all we find are mere reflections of what loved ones kissed. Amidst the ruins of our hearts, we search for something real, yet all we grasp are faded echoes of what used to appeal in this world where love has become just a commodity to steal. It's just a little food for thought. It'd be crazy, yo. But the link is pinned right there, man. Nobody's come up, so we gonna move it on to the next topic, yo. Like, like I said, man, we diving down the rabbit hole, man. We learning new things. It's up to how we perceive things, right? Throughout history, they really like, how do we, determine what's real and what's not, right? And I feel like it's up to us. So, like us going down this journey is not to bash or bring anybody down, but it's more for us to understand, more for us to learn. That's why I always say, man, if you know something, right, that I don't know, feel free. Say something, right? Speak up. Say it loud and clear. Speak with your chest out, right? Like, if you notice that, the person in the video that we're reviewing and reacting to, right, is cap, say it. Like, if you know something more than what I know, say it. Don't be scared. Like, at the end of the day, we're not here to bash nobody. Each one teach one, yo. But let's move on, right? We're going to go down a rabbit hole, right, on the history of the Bible, right? So we're going to go into today's clip, and it's going to be about Lilith and Adam. First wife erased from history, they say, right? And this is all allegedly, right? Because she insisted on gender equality. I mean, there's so many theories when you go and you learn about Lilith and stuff like that, right? Somehow, some way, her stories got mixed in with the Eve. Shout out to Word, man. He has broken this down in so many ways for a shorty. He has even hopped on my panel and broken down, about the Adams and the Eves. All right. So make sure y'all go check him out once again, man, because he's the only one that's been brave enough to hop on my panel, right? And not be scared. No hairs in his tongue, no filters in his mouth. And he broke that shit down. Like, a lot of other people be like, I can't do it. Cause, man, Word don't give a fuck about what they think or say about him, man. He hopped on this journey. He helped the show out. And he ain't just helped me out, man. He taught me some shit. So, man, let me give this man his roses while he's still alive, man. Some of y'all females, some of y'all hating ass, man, might see this shit by, a shorty putting him on a pedestal. But at the end of the day, I ain't putting him on a pedestal. I'm giving that man his roses while he's still alive. Why would I do that shit when he's not here? He's right here with me. So let me tell him how much I appreciate him. Let me tell him how much I respect him. Right. And I do that because he's been the realest on this app. I mean, there's so many on here. We got him. I said realist, man. Let me not forget about realist, yo. Make sure y'all go check out realist show. Great conversations, great topic show. Like, you listen, you will not be disappointed when you go check out realist. Somebody that is as young as me and like-minded, man, is a few of us. Yo, but make sure y'all go check them out. Gary Bust It Down, Brown, man. You got Pastor Double Speaks, right? You got Meet the Great Podcast.
We all know the biblical myth about Adam and Eve, Lilith, a figure whose story challenges conventional beliefs and beckons us to reconsider the untold aspects of our sacred texts. Welcome.
85% of people using this have achieved their ideal weight goals. Want to know how?
Oh, man, you just fucked up. I forgot. I'm not on a premium on this one. Buy commercials. What was I like?
And what symbolism hides behind her story. We'll try to find out together in the new episode of Portal to the mystical narratives that have shaped our collective consciousness. Today, we embark on an intriguing expedition into the shadows of biblical lore, exploring the lesser-known but profoundly captivating
Man, I'm liking the story, but I wish you would have made Lilith's hair black, because nowhere in the stories, right, is her hair blonde. She was black. I mean, not that she was black. Her hair was black. Fuck. Hey, you talk too fast. Slow it
story
down.
of Lilith, Adam's elusive first wife, erased from history. Join us as we unravel
Commander
the
Funny.
layers of mystery surrounding Lilith, a figure whose story challenges conventional beliefs and beckons us to reconsider the untold aspects of our sacred texts. Welcome. According to Abrahamic religions, God created Adam, the first human, out of clay and breathed his life into him. The Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. But for Adam no suitable helper was found, so the Lord God calls the man to fall into a deep sleep. And while he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man,
So
and
they
he
say.
brought her to the man. The man said, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called a woman, for she was taken out of a man." But isn't it weird and illogical that God created all living beings in pairs, a female and male, but only Adam was created alone? A deep within the history of Jewish mythology lies.
Isn't that a question? Oh, my bad. Not everybody asks that question, because as soon as they, a lot of people read the Bible. Oh, it's what the Bible says. You cannot disrespect the Bible by questioning the Bible. If you question the Bible, God will sit here and boom, thunder you down.
Is a tale of a figure who defined the conventions of her time and embraced her own desires and independence. Her name is Lilith, Adam's first wife. From demon to feminist icon, Lilith has undergone a myriad of interpretations and adaptations, making her one of the of Lilith's story can be found in the Jewish tradition.
Now you see how he's describing Lilith right now. Those of y'all that watch me, y'all understand why I say that a lot of females you hear about Lilith. You see where I'm coming from? Like, damn, she's supposed to be, the queen of hell. She's supposed to be ruling the underworld with Lucifer, and who was it that got branded? Which one of the brothers was it that killed the other brother? Cain? It's one of the two. I forgot what it was. They're supposed to be the prince of hell. I mean, there's so many stories to this. Like, it's crazy. Like, yeah, I've read so many stories, in the midst of trying to search for the truth, like trying to figure out, the past, the history, the gods and all that. Like, I don't know. When I was reading the Bible, right, it led me to questions, right? When it was being read to me, it led to way more questions, right? And I'm not done reading the Bible because I'm stuck in between all these things. I didn't mean to say it like that, but shit. But let's continue. That's a topic for another live. Like, let's dive down. Like, it's crazy. I just wonder if I'm the only one in this, era that has, learned about Lilith and has been trying to figure all this out, right, when it comes to Adam and Eve and Lilith, the story of Lilith.
While Lilith is mentioned 4 times in the Babylonian Talmud, it wasn't until the alphabet of Ben Sira, a medieval text from the 9th or 10th century, that she became associated with the initial version of the creation story. The alphabet of Ben Sira describes Lilith as Adam's first wife and provides a comprehensive account of her story. According to this story, Lilith was created by God from earth's dust, just like Adam, and she believed that both of them should be treated the same manner. Although Lilith was supposed to live in the Garden of Eden with Adam, she was strong and independent and thought of herself as Adam's equal. Since she was created in the same way he was, Lilith responded, "We are equal to each other in as much as we are both created from the earth," but they would not listen to one another.
And that's crazy because I hear a lot of people say that. So could that be the reason why, if this is true, could that be the reason why, when God created Adam and Eve again, right? This time he did it a different way. I'm just asking.
When Lilith saw this, she pronounced the ineffable name and flew away into the air. After leaving Adam, Lilith fled to the Red Sea, where she mated with demons and gave birth to hundreds of demon offspring.
Damn.
Adam stood in prayer before his creator, saying, "The woman you gave me has run away." At once, the Holy One, blessed be he, sent 3 angels to bring her back.
That's crazy, yo. She ran away and she said, "Fuck that, man. I deserve what I deserve." And then she went off and met a whole bunch of bad guys, right? We're going to call the demons bad guys. She met a whole bunch of bad boys, bad guys, right? And she just turned into a whole little Tatiana. She's like, "Fuck that, man. I'm going to get what I want. And I'm going to use my vajayjay, as power. Watch me get all these on their knees." Like, yo, I'm dead. She's like, "Watch, I'm going to rule. I'm going to use my kitty cat's power." Like, yeah, I'm going to have all of them on their knees begging me. Like, yo. She's like, who the fuck does God think he is? He can't treat me as Adam's equal. Watch me start my own kingdom. I'm a better than Adam. Like, damn, you look, calm down. It wasn't that deep.
If she agrees to come back, fine. If not, she must permit 100 of her children to die every day.
Oh, wow.
The angels left God and pursued Lilith, whom they overtook in the midst of the sea. God, if she agrees to come back, fine. The woman you gave me has run away. At once, the Holy One, blessed be he, sent 3 angels to bring her back. If she agrees to come back, fine. If not, she must permit 100 of her children to die every day.
Oh, shit.
The angels left God and pursued Lilith, whom they overtook in the midst of the sea, in the mighty waters where reigned the Egyptians were destined to drown. They told her God's word, but she did not wish to return. The angel said, "We shall drown you in the sea." "Leave me," she said. "I was created only to call sickness to infants.
Oh, wow.
If the infant is male, I have dominion over him for 8 days after his birth, and a female for 20 days. When the angels heard Lilith's words, they insisted she go back, but she swore to them by the name of the living and eternal God. "Whenever I see you or your names or your forms in an amulet, I will have no power over that infant." She also agreed to have 100 of her children die every day. Accordingly, every day, 100 demons perish, and for the same reason, Jewish...
How in the world does she give birth every day? I thought a woman could only give birth to a child every year. I mean, unless she had twins, triplets, octuplets, like, damn. But still, even like that, that would be 8 children per year, the most, right? Shit.
People write the angels' names on the amulets of young children.
Blessings.
She remembers her oath and the...
Damn, that's crazy. Guys, make sure y'all go check out Ms. April Shower. She's somebody that's on this YouTube platform, right? She speaks on different topics, but she is somebody that fights for our children, man. Make sure y'all go check her out, sub up, check her videos. If y'all like, smash that like button for her, man, and help her bring her awareness.
Child recovers. Being left alone and unable to accept Lilith's refusal, Adam called upon God to create another mate for him, which resulted in the creation of Eve from Adam's rib, the story that we already know. According to some versions of the story, Lilith was jealous of Adam and Eve because...
Oh, so you saying that Adam never, got recreated? He was always there, so he existed for a whole nother maybe 1,000, 2,000 years, until Lilith got recreated again in the I guess the next chapter of Genesis. I forgot where it was in the Bible. Listen, don't give me the lie, I can't remember where it was in the Bible, but it's there. And it's 2 different stories on how he created Adam and Eve. So now you're saying that Adam was not recreated, right? He already existed from the first time, but now Eve is being recreated for the second time, because the first one, right, the first Eve, right, who was allegedly supposed to have been Lilith, she ran off because she wanted equality. Okay.
Because they lived in peace and happiness in the Garden of Eden.
I'm saying it.
Plotting to take revenge on the pair, she transformed herself into a serpent and returned to the garden, where she convinced Eve to eat the forbidden fruit.
Oh, shit.
This resulted in Adam and Eve having to leave paradise.
You're trying to say that, wait. Listen, before, in the beginning, I thought this was, one of my theories, but I didn't think that it was so true until, Word broke it down, but damn. Now you're making me second guess myself. Nah. Because after Word broke it down, I went into a deeper search into this shit. So, but then it makes you think too, though. Nah. They never really mention who the snake is. And it does get you to think. They never really mentioned the snake. And why was the snake so, persistent on Eve eating allegedly that apple from the tree? That later on it turned out that, it wasn't a fruit that they ate knowledge, but how do you eat knowledge? Listen, we'll get into that later.
As a result of her rebellion, Lilith became a figure of fear and male violence in Jewish folklore, associated with witchcraft, seduction, and death. Can we find similar stories about Lilith in other cultures and religious traditions?
No.
Lilith is not mentioned directly in the Bible, but some Christian writers have referenced her as a symbol of temptation and sin. In Islamic tradition, Lilith is believed to be the mother of jinn, or supernatural creatures. In some images and art, Lilith is portrayed standing on the back of 2 lions, which she seems to bend according to her will. Throughout history, She has been depicted in many works of art, as well as on plaques and reliefs, especially in Babylon, where she was said to have originated. On some reliefs, she's portrayed with the upper body of a woman and the tail of a serpent instead of a lower body, much like a chimera in Greek mythology. In the 19th and 20th centuries, Lilith was rediscovered by feminist writers and scholars who saw her as a symbol of female empowerment and rebellion. In this context, she came to represent the struggle for women's rights and the rejection of patriarchal authority.
So in her time, she was fighting for women's rights. Oh shit! I see why they put the Feminist Act into this category right here. The evil. Dang. You know what? Let me stop playing around before they say I'm over here saying some shit and I'm just giving some commentary on the video. Yo, wait a minute.
Could we find more about Lilith in the meaning of her name? The exact origin of the name Lilith is uncertain and debated among scholars. Some believe that the name may have originated from the Sumerian word Lilitu, which referred to a type of female demon or vampire. Another possibility is that the name Lilith is derived from the Akkadian word Lilu, which means wind spirit or ghost. This would connect Lilith to a broader mythological tradition of female spirits and demons that were believed to inhabit the world of the dead. Others suggest that the name may have come from the Hebrew word Lil, which means night, and thus Lilith could be translated as night creature or creature of the night. So regardless of its exact origin, the name Lilith has come to be associated with a powerful and mysterious figure.
Oh, I got more videos, word. I got more videos. It's just a lot of videos to play all in one. This one won't show me the playlist because I have it on private. But yeah, I got a lot of videos. I got a whole little playlist of the history of the Bible, people that break down certain things like you be doing. But what's crazy is that a lot of these videos, that's why I tell people, man, you got to go on and do your own research. So for them to determine what's actually true and what's actually false out of these videos. 'Cause I had to do the same thing. There are so many videos, and no matter what video you got down to, no matter what video we review and react to, we still have to make sure that, you know, that the facts are true, the facts, you know, what facts are false, you see where I'm coming from. So that's why I'm like, yo, I mean, I had to look at a lot of these videos. Some of them I didn't, but then I had to like really go do my research because it's kind of like, oh shit. But yeah, there's a lot of videos about breaking down the Lilith story. But on some real shit, like I told everybody earlier, I'm waiting to hear you break this joint down because I know you're going to make a whole lot of more sense, which is going to filter my search down and help me do my research. So, hey, and definitely y'all know I'm going to do another Lilith live because if y'all don't remember, right, if it wasn't for the word, I wouldn't have been able to break down one of the Lilith videos that I played before. So, man, like I said, if y'all haven't checked him out, check him out, y'all. Like, thanks to him, I was able to break down the Lilith video. But this is one of many videos that I got, right? We got videos of Moses, Jesus, and stuff like that. So far, the theories of why Jesus isn't real are the ones that I'll be like, damn, everybody's like on the same note with that. But when it comes to like Moses, Adam, Eve, Daniel, and other stories in the Bible, it's like everybody's got differences of opinions in it. But one thing that I can see a lot of people agree to is the Jesus story. He doesn't exist. Like, I'll be like, damn.
Figure who embodies both the allure and the danger of the night and the unknown. As a dark shadow figure, Lilith has often been associated with animals like owls, snakes, and other nocturnal creatures. But how do they contribute to her symbolic significance? Firstly, these animals are often associated with darkness, mystery, and the unknown, which are all qualities attributed to Lilith in many cultures. Owls are seen as symbols of wisdom and knowledge, while snakes are often associated with transformation and rebirth. By associating Lilith with these animals, her symbolic significance is enhanced.
I mean, snakes are known for many things, like right here And I don't know if it's all of America, all of the United States, but in Philly, right? If you a snake, you're a traitor and shit like that. So you don't want to be known as a snake. Damn. So I mean, snakes are known for a lot of stuff, but here in Philly, you don't want to be known as a snake.
She becomes a representation of feminine wisdom, intuition, hidden knowledge, transformation, and rebirth. But this connection to the archetypal figure of the serpent can point to another association. As we know from the Bible, the serpent can represent temptation and sin, as well as sexuality. Similarly, Lilith can represent the power of the feminine and the desire for autonomy and independence. By linking Lilith with animals that are free, untamed, and unbound by human conventions, her symbolic significance is heightened. She becomes a representation of the untamed, wild aspects of the psyche that are often repressed and denied. But let's go back to ancient Sumeria, their creation myth, also known as the Enuma Elish and the Anunnaki. The ancient civilization of the Sumerians believed in a pantheon of gods, the Anunnaki, who were also known as the ones who came from the sky. In most esoteric versions of the Sumerian creation myth, the Anunnaki came to Earth to mine gold and then created humans to perform the task. The creation of humans happened by genetically engineering the human race using their own DNA. Anki, the god of water, knowledge, and creation.
Anki, I think that's the one that I was saying that word broke down that people was that the story of Jesus sound familiar to that God. Yo, this is crazy. Everything he is saying, yo. Where it says, once you look at the history, it will make sense. Most of Greek and Hebrews was influenced by the Akkadians, which got their stuff from the Sumerians. Oh. This, the stories behind Lilith. But it's kind of crazy because a lot of women right now, if you look at them, they kind of like, that's why, listen, I don't know if y'all heard me, but I do know that if you've been watching me for a minute, y'all hear me say it. When I say believe all women, no, man, a lot of these women are nothing but Lilith in disguise. Everybody's like, who's Lilith? I'm like, yo, search her up. And I'm glad the word broke it down for me, though, for real. Because if it wasn't for a word, man, I'm telling y'all, I would be stuck in the little theory section right now, like in a whole theory realm.
Together with his counterpart sister, Ninhursag, mixed their own DNA with that of a home.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Tell me that this is not sounding like, what is that movie called? Aliens. Aliens Prometheus. When they explain you the story of aliens, tell me that what he is saying right here don't sound like it. If you watched Aliens Prometheus, I'm hoping I'm saying the name right? And guess what? Prometheus is in the Bible anyways, right? This right here kind of reminds you of that whole movie right there, what he is saying right there in just a few words. Hold on.
Desire for autonomy and independence. By linking Lilith with animals that are free, untamed, and unbound by human conventions, her symbolic significance.
Chill, Commander, man. One of these days, I'm gonna pop him in his sleep, and I'm gonna pretend like I ain't do it. I don't know. I just got the urge of popping my baby pops in the head, like getting on my nerves right now, and I don't know why. So no, I'm going to chill. They're gonna call her husband hot music. Yo, let me stop. I'll be like,
is heightened. She becomes a representation of the untamed, wild aspects of the psyche that are often repressed and denied. But let's go back to ancient Sumeria, their creation myth, also known as the Enuma Elish and the Anunnaki. The ancient civilization of the Sumerians believed in a pantheon of gods, the Anunnaki, who were also known as the ones who came from the sky. In most esoteric versions of the Sumerian creation myth, the Anunnaki came to Earth to mine gold and then created humans to perform the task. The creation of humans happened by genetically engineering the human race using their own DNA. Anki, the god of water, knowledge, and
Prometheus.
creation,
This is what this
together
reminds
with
me
his
of.
counterpart sister Ninhursag, mixed their own DNA with that of a Homo
Look.
erectus to create a man and a woman in their image. Initially,
It's crazy because in Prometheus, right? Allegedly, you know, they're the what were they called? The engineers, right? Were the ones that created mankind. Blah blah blah. Then I guess when people wasn't doing what they wanted or some shit like that, they try to create this thing to destroy them, right? And they try to make the ultimate whatever, but they ended up making the aliens. And what's crazy, I have a feeling that it goes further than that. I have a feeling that the predators, right, were the first ones before Prometheus. So I don't listen. Man, you know what? Let me stop. Now we're going into movies. Stop, Ray, stop. But see what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know if people notice these things about the Bible and stuff that when it comes to, you know, all that in the Bible, but it's the chapters in these Bibles are very similar to a lot of movies. A lot of the, you know, books in our history books and stuff like that. So yeah, I've always questioned it.
humans were not allowed to reproduce, as the populations needed to be controlled. However, after seeing how his own creation was exploited as slaves by his brother Enlil, who was the chief god of the Sumerian pantheon, Enki decided to teach humans how to mate. According to the Terra Papers by Robert Morning Sky,
That would be nice for the word to break down. He need to break down who is Enki, Aniku, and all of them. See that the word need to, you know, break that joint down, man. I swear to God, man, you gonna end up shutting a lot of mouths. People's gonna be really mad, yo. They gonna really be mad. But it's like, listen, man, I believe in God, and I've always said that I believe in God, nothing more, nothing less, man. Listen, I walk with God by my side. He's with me. He's inside. I am God. Fuck it. Let's say that. Whichever way, when I figure it out, I'll figure it out. But I'm not breaking my head following nothing but stories. You see where I'm coming from? I have to decipher the truth. I have to figure it out for myself. Not because he said, she said.
Guy. Initially, there was equality between the male and female counterparts, and women were equal to men. However, at one point, Marduk, the son of Enki, rebelled against the prime god Enlil and overthrew him.
I think I've heard word mentioned Marduk before, but it's, I mean, I don't know. I haven't heard, you've heard of Marduk before? The son of Enki? Wait. Oh, now I gotta look into that. See, I'm still learning, guys.
After establishing his rule over Earth, the Terra Papers explained that Marduk, in order to solidify his power, removed the feminine element and rewrote history in a way that gave power only to the male part. While Lilith and Adam were equal, suggesting an initial parity between the masculine and feminine aspects, something changed. Lilith was demonized, and when Eve appears, she, being created from Adam, is already subordinate to him since her creation. Doesn't this replacement in the following stories sound convenient for a male-dominant world? What if we look beyond the literal interpretation of the myth of Lilith as a symbol of an overlooked and ignored feminine aspect? Is it possible that throughout time, people have used the image of Lilith to demonize the shadow part of themselves, the one they cannot face and prefer to hide? So, in a way, can Lilith point to aspects in ourselves that we tend to run away from? The myth of Lilith raises questions about our own thoughts, behaviors, feelings, and emotions, or as Carl Jung says, the totality of all psychic processes, conscious as well as unconscious. Carl Jung was interested in the symbolism of Lilith and her relevance to the human psyche. Jung saw Lilith as a potent symbol of the unconscious or a representation of the anima, which is the feminine aspect of the male psyche. How does the myth of Lilith relate to the integration of unconscious aspects of ourselves? Jung believed that psychotherapy should continue to be driven by the unconscious, and we may even mistake its impact on our lives for fate or destiny beyond our control. Furthermore, the story of Lilith can also be seen as a metaphor for the process of individuation, or the development of a fully integrated and authentic sense of self. By refusing to be subjugated by Adam or any other external authority, Lilith represents the power of the individual to assert their own unique identity and autonomy. In that way, in psychoanalysis, the balance of opposites is crucial, and when the balance is tilted, things inevitably go in the wrong way. Could the Great Flood be prevented if Lilith's story has been altered to fit the needs of those who rule? How about the alteration of all human history throughout time? Do historical accounts accurately and objectively present what really happened back in time? What would our world look like if we knew the real truth? We know that throughout history, various narratives emphasize the importance of mutual respect, balance, and consent. But it also shows us that we should not trust anything blindly. Rather, we should always think critically, approach historical accounts with a critical eye, and understand the context in which they were written. This includes examining multiple sources, considering different perspectives, and being aware of potential biases and falsifications. It also calls us to embrace the full spectrum of human experience, including the parts of ourselves and others unknown. Lilith can be seen as a reminder that there is always more to ourselves and the world around us than we can see or understand. If we acknowledge the mystery and complexity of life, we can open ourselves up to new possibilities and experiences rather than living in fear or ignorance. As we draw the curtain on this captivating exploration of Lilith's story, we find ourselves enriched with a deeper understanding of the complexities within the biblical tapestry. Lilith, once relegated to the margins, emerges as a symbol of defiance and independence, echoing through the corridors of time. On this Bible story...
Yo, that's crazy. Before we dive into the rabbit hole with our history, let me play this. I'm not sure what timestamp I'm supposed to start it from. Give me 1 second. And since it's the words video, I know that I don't have to interrupt, so I'm gonna let it play so that y'all can, soak in that knowledge real quick. So it says, you see, story time with the word, the Anunnaki. There you go. I was about to mess it up again.
But it's always interesting because we'll talk about it. Hey, we're gonna have story time. Bug Files, what up, brother? What up? Appreciate you. Hey, we're gonna talk about.
All right, so when we are Warning Rage, I'm about to be entering the world of Detroit. So, welcome to Detroit, baby.
The Anunnaki tonight. I'm not gonna give a presentation. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna just introduce you, right? We have story time, and a lot of the information I learned is not my own research. I haven't dug into them, but I've listened to other people, looked at other people's research, right? For a period of time now, and even that, you use what you can use, and leave the rest there. But it's always interesting because
what up, dude?
These stories of the Anunnaki, they come from the Sumerian tablet, right? If you don't know what the Sumerian tablet.
What up, dude? Blessings, Gary Bust It Down Brown, y'all. Make sure y'all go check out Gary Bust It Down Brown, y'all. I like the fact that he touches on subjects that a lot of people are scared to touch on. Great conversations, great topics. You will not be disappointed, man. He's like another word, right? But see, word goes into philosophy, physics, right? The spiritual realm, right? Astrology, all that, right? But Gary Bust It Down talks about, current events, reality, about, you know, family, much more, respect, morals. It's almost the same thing, right? But kind of different. So make sure y'all go check him out. Like I said, he'll touch on subjects and topics that a lot of people are scared to touch on. Let's get back to word.
This is over 300,000 of them. Only, I think, 10% of them been deciphered or translated, and even the translation like is in Cumaic form. So even the translation is like, to understand what Cumaic form is. Let's look it up. It's easier to explain it, but it's not just one language. It's old languages. It's like, you know how think of it like, I speak English, right? People who speak English, but they still have their own accent, right? So when you talk about Cumaic form, it's a lot of different languages mixed in. It's like a lot of different accents. So a lot of people know it at a period of time. So a lot of people got forms of it, but some. So imagine if different languages took English words, right? And then the whole English language disappeared. But you can go to all these different languages and pick out different words. That's kind of how they translate it. That's how that's Cumaic form is, but that's how they kind of translated the whole Sumerian tablets, right? So it was multiple languages that had different aspects of Sumerian because of the influence, you know. And those languages, they went back to those languages, found words, and pieced them together to read these tablets. And they generally give credit to Zechariah Stitchin. Anytime you talk about the Anunnaki, people go bring up Zechariah Stitchin, and they go bring up his character. You know, he was crazy, he was this, he was that. But he wasn't the first person to decipher or to translate. You know, so I mean, he might have the most prominent story or translation, but it been done. People have been translated. You know, um, so it's a lot of different resources. So definitely check that out. I was supposed to have all that stuff, but then I realized I did this on a vertical stream, so you ain't gonna be able to see it anyway. But some of the stuff I do have pulled up. Um, Actually, I do get that pulled up. So even when I'm saying like about who translated it. Right? So theologist George Frederick, right? The German theologist, first deciphered Cumaic form prior to 1823. So that's what I'm saying. This been done. Like deciphering it, people just put more pieces of the puzzle together, and that's where Zachariah Stitchin came in. But he just put different people's work together and formed his. So, but the point, like, I just wanted to point that out because that often get brought up. And another thing, when we talk about when we talking about the Sumerians having influence on the Bible, the Old and New Testament, right? So when you talk about the deluge, right, especially the Great Flood that happened, when they was trying to prove that the Great Flood happened, they had to look and admit that the story was older than what the Hebrews. This happened back in the day of the Sumerians. They was trying to prove that the flood happened and realized that a lot of the flood story was aligning with the Epic of Gilgamesh, right? And the Epic of Gilgamesh and Lil got tired of the humans, got annoyed with him, so he flooded the earth. But Enki, his brother, told Gilgamesh what was going to happen and told him how to prepare for it. So he built the ship. He built the boat so he could survive the flood. And he put people and different things on the boat. So when the water receded, they can go back to living. So that's the Epic of Gilgamesh. I'm not gonna talk about that tonight, but we go get into that because that's interesting. Epic of Gilgamesh is interesting, but if you want to get into it before then, go check out Billy Carson. He read it. He read the Epic of Gilgamesh not too long ago. It was dope. I thought that was dope. And if you want to check it out for yourself, you can go to University of Cal. You go on their website. I believe you can just type in Sumerian tablet, and they'll translate it for you, so you can read it for yourself. Each stone. There's a couple stones there. They got the Enuma Elish, the 7 tablets of creation. That's interesting. We ain't gonna talk about Tiamat. None of the. We're gonna talk about Anu and Lil and Inky. That's what we're gonna talk about tonight. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting information. This right here, this website is World Encyclopedia. You can definitely look that up for yourself. There's a whole bunch of articles, especially like from academia. There's a whole bunch of articles and write-ups showing or comparing the Sumerian tablets to the Bible, to the Quran, to Greek mythology. Like, you'll see what I'm talking about. Like, and all this was before all of it. What up, though? Lisa J in the building, the realest one in the building. And Ty, what up, man? Appreciate y'all.
What up, dude?
But when you when you looking all this up, you'll see that compared to the Bible, I believe 3,500 years around that time, around 3,500 years before the Bible was written, this was written in stone. So you'll see a lot of eerie resemblance. And like I tell people, all of it's really the same. It's just told from different perspectives. Even the story of the Sumerians, right? Commander, what up, though, sis? Even the stories of the Sumerians. So it start off, the oldest is the Sumerians, right? That civilization. Then you move into the Mesopotamian, Babylonian civilization. Then the stories change. Then you move into the Assyrian civilization. The Babylonian Assyrian civilization.
So see, it goes further back than the Babylonian civilization, and what the boy was saying. So Word was correct on that part. It goes further back. That's why I said there's so many stories, so many theories to the little story that it's crazy.
Then the story changed. Even from Sumeria to the Arcadia, it started to change because in the beginning you had 3, right? Enlil, Enki, and Anu. Anu was the highest. Anu was the most high. That's what they called Anu, the most high, the high god, the god of the sky, right? Enlil was the god of storms, right? He was the god of storms, and Enlil had domain over earth. It was supposed to go to Enki, but it went to Enlil. Enki was the god of knowledge and fresh water. That's who Enki was. And he was known as the trickster, the father. And the reason they called him trickster because Enlil used to get annoyed with the humans and want to destroy them. And Enki would play a trick and save the humans. So they called him the trickster. So like he would be Loki in Norse mythology.
Hey, Thor and Loki.
Like how Loki was. That's what inspired Loki was Enki. But Enki was all.
Yeah, the link is in the chat, and it's also in the community one.
Also Odin too, the High Father. So, and Enki's domain was deep in the water. Lady Shay, what up, sis? Was deep in the water. That was Enki's domain. And Lil's domain was high in the sky. So, and Lil would have been Zeus, and Enki would have been Poseidon. You see what I'm saying? But this is what influenced all this. Enki and Lil was there
What does that mean?
thousands of years before any of this was told or created. But so Anu was the father, Enki was the son, and Lil was the son.
Oh,
So you got a trinity, right? And if you think of it as like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit would be the spirit of what knowledge. That's what Enlil was. And Enlil was knowledge, was wisdom. He was magic. He taught people how to read, how to write, arts. You know, he was the one. He was like the Prometheus. He was the one who brought the fire.
Prometheus.
He was the one who. So this is an interesting story too. So we go. I'm gonna tell you a story of Inky and Lil. Like, so this can be found in the Numa list, right? And I forget their name already. But so what happened was, they came to Earth to get some gold because their atmosphere was falling apart, and they
Everything's about getting gold.
used gold to reestablish their atmosphere, to strengthen their atmosphere. So they came to Earth to get gold. And they had a working class people, right? The Niji. The Niji was the working class people. So they had them mining for gold on Earth and in Mars. And if they didn't complete a task, they get punished. So they've been doing this for a while and they was tired. And they was like, you know what? There's more of us than them. We just go at them. We tired. So they went to the crib in Lil, right? And they was like, hey man, come outside, we gotta talk. I'm telling this from my perspective, but they really did do that. They pulled up at his house and they sent somebody to the door, like, hey, come on, we gotta talk, come on out. So he sent for the other gods, right? And his brother Inky came and they said, well, what we gonna do? Are we just go wipe them out and then how we go mine the gold? He was like, nah, look, there's another group of people on this planet already. They primitive, but we can soup them up and they can be our working class people. And they can not work and we can have these people work. So they had oh, my bad, sis. What up, Anta?
Hey, what's up? I'm just
Oh,
listening.
I was just cooking.
I'm just listening. Go, keep going. Shout out, chat. Go ahead.
Oh, so
shout out to
they called.
make sure y'all go check
now
out.
This is the interesting part. They called this their sister, right? Iana, and Iana is basically you hear Tay say they call Isis, and so Iana will be Isis, will be Estar. Like in Babylonian, she was Estar. Like I said, through the time they changed, things shifted. Different gods didn't matter. Other gods matter more. Just like through anything, you know. Like if you look at Greek mythology, at first it was the Titans, and then they was praising the Titans, and then Zeus came. So the different, I guess, eras worship different gods. But anyway, and this is not at this time people are not monotheistic, meaning they don't worship just one God. They got a God for everything. God for the rain, God for the harvest, God for the seasons. Is a God for everything. There's something ruling over something at this time. So it's not a monotheistic like we think now. Like God, created everything. God rules everything. They actually had own individual demigods. D Shep, what up, though? Appreciate you. So did I realize, did I greet you, brother? I'm sorry, man. I was in the zone. I enjoyed like the Anunnaki, and I'm having fun telling the story. Realize, did I greet you, brother? If I didn't, I apologize. My ninja. Lisa J, I'm gonna just do another roll call because I hate if I miss somebody. Tamus can't get commander. What up, though? The general's in the building. I think I got everybody. Okay, I was just making sure, brother. You see somebody I know. But so yeah. So this is what happened after that, right? When the sister came in, they said, look, we've been trying to create a new human. Why don't we just, well, not a new human. They was trying to create a new species because Inky is also a strategist, right? That's why he's so tricky and witty. He knew this was coming, so he was planning for it. But he said, "Look, I got an idea. Why don't we take the seed from one of the humans here? We're gonna implant it into you, and you go give birth to this new species, this new hybrid. You go give birth to it." So, bam, that's what they did. They took the seed. So that's the Immaculate Conception, the Virgin.
Man, you know what I wonder? How, like we know that a lot of the stories in the Bible are fake, right? But they got a lot of stories from scripts and texts and stuff like that, right? How much of them scripts and how much of them texts are really real? Like, are they all real? You see where I'm coming from?
Birth. Even in Egypt, how did Isis get pregnant with Heru? Osiris was all cut up and he was missing the tip of his phallus. So she had to turn into a falcon and flap over him. And, stuff flew up. She caught it. She turned back to a human. She was pregnant with Heru.
Yo, imagine somebody nowadays, right? We're in 2025. Imagine somebody turning into a falcon or turning into a just transforming into something else. You see where I'm coming from? And I'm not talking about, like hopping on rainbows and shit. I'm talking about actually transforming into like some other creature. Like, have y'all ever seen the show Animorph? You transform, like, Word just said, into a falcon and then transform back. Like, imagine somebody transforming into some type of creature nowadays. Oof. I don't think they could be able to cover that. Unless, the Men in Black really exist and they could just, take a little flash and just erase your memory.
This is literally talking about artificial assimilation. Like that's how they translated the tablet. This ain't like they literally translated it, said they put his seed into you and you give birth. This ain't no magical, no, they telling you medical procedure. That's the thing about, I'm gonna be honest with you, from what I seen and what I read from this Sumerian thing, like this, they talk about technology. It's not supernatural things. Like when they talk about, they're telling you they're putting the seed into you, knowing the same process we do now. You take the seed, the sperm of a man, you put it in a woman, 9 months later she give birth. That's what these tablets are saying.
I mean, and there could be some truth to it, because if you really look at it and down in history, right, all the way before, I think was it 9 something BC or AD, whichever, right? They had scientists, they had doctors, like they had surgeons, they had all these type of different stuff that they were doing, but they led us to believe that all this technology and all this stuff didn't exist until not so long ago. What I mean by like in the 1800s, 1900s, probably they said that in the 1500s they didn't have doctors, scientists, and all that. But how did they have it all the way back then? Come on, man. I mean, I'm not saying the 1800s. I'm talking about like the 1500s, right? Like, come on, man. Like, y'all telling me all this shit. Like, in the military, how did they help people and save people? Like, you gotta really think about this shit. Like, 2 and 2 don't make sense when they, it makes no sense. The stories that we was told as we was growing up. And if you didn't question it, that's on you. I questioned everything.
This ain't like.
I'm not talking about the word. I'm just talking in general. People, just in case.
Like I said, this ain't no Egyptian story where people turning into birds and flapping over you. No, they're telling you, like they tell you it's an outside laboratory. Now you say the word laboratory wasn't created. It was not laboratory, but it was a facility, an outside facility, like an outside palace. And it was once the first man was created, they was trying to get him to mate with the female, but it wouldn't happen, so they had to make a female. Once they made a female, then they can reproduce. they didn't have to genetically modify. Now they can just make them by mating them. So that was the plan, right? So now they're in the garden, and it's called Eden, 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 not Eden like the Garden of Eden, but Eden. Cuddy in the building, who? Tay Eats, what up, sis? What up, sis? The 9 is complete. The 9 is complete, people. Appreciate y'all.
The 9 is complete. The 9 is complete, guys.
Now they done made Adam. They created an Adam, and they got a female.
A little trunk came out of him. Y'all heard the trunk voice come out?
They in the garden. They doing their job. They doing work. And then Inky comes in, right? And Inky like, you know what? Y'all out here like animals. Y'all ain't got no clothes on. Y'all don't know. Y'all ain't aware of nothing. He said he had a bright idea because Inky was very fond of the humans. Inky loved the humans. And he said, you know what? I'm gonna give you a piece of me, and you'll be like God, right? You know what? My bad. I gotta go back for a minute. So
the link is in the community wall. Where I'm over here geeking it. His Trump voice came out real quick. The 9 is complete. The 9 is complete.
The way they made the first human, right? The way the seed that they the mold that they the seed that they took to make the first human, they had to kill a god because they had to put their spirit into it. So they had to kill one of the male gods to put their spirit into the seed, right? And just
facts, right? And what's crazy is, right, I was shocked when I learned that gods died, but we was led to believe the gods are eternal. And I had questions when I was young. How is a god eternal? But hello, somebody else took over. They don't exist today. So obviously they're not eternal.
just so happened Allah was there.
What's wrong with them?
Allah was there when that happened. Okay, now I'm going back to where I was at. So now and Lil came back to the garden. And then Lil noticed they had clothes on. Like, what is y'all doing? And then he was like, you know what? Inky did that. And he was so ticked off that he kicked them out the garden because he didn't want them to influence the rest of the people there. So he told them two, y'all gets to go.
Yeah. Morpheus is having a battle with the word in real life. In real life. Morpheus and the word is having a battle. Word is like, yo, I'm trying to hit the link, man. I'm up there trying to defend myself. I know I sound like Trump on, Cloud 9. I'm trying to, give my, little definition, but Morpheus over here trying to block every way. He's like, damn. It's an ongoing. See, wait, listen. This the spiritual realm, y'all. This the spiritual realm right now we in.
Go. And he kicked them out the garden, kicked them out the lab, kicked them out of Eden.
And it's not all Queen's men.
And all that can be found in the 7 tablets of creation, Noma Lish. Oh, interesting story. And people talk about like the translation. Like I said, it's universities.
Let me see.
It's scholars.
I'm gonna copy it again.
I mean, if this is how we approve things, is through academia or even on our own self-evaluation. I can't translate a dead language. I can only hope that the people who did it are truthful. And if it say what it say, then it say. But that's how we got it all, anything. Because remember, Hebrew, the original Hebrew, they can't speak that now. They try. They try to speak biblical Hebrew. There's no vowels. They don't even know how it would have sound back then. That's something different. Like no one's here to tell you how it's supposed to sound.
Yeah, it's not gonna let me
But
change.
you know, they do. So
I'm gonna put it in the community
that's what
wall
they
one more
say
time.
anyway. Appreciate you, Commander Sis. Appreciate you. Definitely support the 9. Subscribe, tap that bell. We appreciate everybody rocking out.
All right, I'm gonna put it in
But
the
yeah,
community
Inky
wall one
and
more
Lil,
time.
that's where the drama started before then. But you know, they was brothers, so even taking them through history, that'll be Osiris and Set.
Where's my community wall?
You know,
It says posts. Oh snap!
it'll be Zeus and Hades.
They changed the name of my community wall. It's not community wall no more.
You know, Inky, he had so many personalities. When you look through history, they usually he can embody multiple gods. It's like he inspired multiple gods. Like he was the original god of the sea and fresh water. That's Poseidon. But he was also, they consider that the underworld that represents Hades. He represented Osiris because he was the god of the underworld. Why was he the god of the underworld? Because in Little sent him there.
Hold on
That
one
was
second.
like a punishment or ban. So he kind of let his kids have domain on earth and do whatever. You know, y'all be cool to one another. But eventually, when it goes into another age, Anu is recognized as the Most High, but he ain't significant. Like they don't really talk about him. It's more about Enlil. And then later on, Marduk come. And then Marduk is the Anunnaki who ushered in monotheism. So, like, if you study Egyptian or Kemetic history, they'll tell you Amun Ra is not an Egyptian god. Amun Ra is a god who came to Egypt. That's like a god they adopted. That's Marduk. But when you say Amen, Amen is Marduk. That's Amun Ra. The thing with Amun Ra, he wanted, or Marduk, when he took over, he didn't want.
We got, we got Lucifer himself. Y'all know we screamed Candyman 3 times earlier. Lucifer himself popped up, so we got the devil himself here. Yeah, what up? What up, word?
Okay, yeah, my bad, man. My phone's tripping. I was trying to hit the link. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Gary said it wasn't just you, so I have refreshed this John to see what the problem was over here.
Yeah, man. Listening back to that, I was like, damn, was I high? Y'all can hear my kids in background tripping, so I'm gonna be muting a lot. But yeah, like, hold on, I'll be right back.
Yeah, the stuff is crazy, y'all. Man, give me 1 second, guys. But I'm gonna leave it paused right there. I'm gonna talk with word, and then we're gonna check one more video out. And tomorrow, Sunday, we'll get right back into it. We got it's supposed to be 2, right? Yeah, 2. African writing and its place in world history, comparing biographies of enslaved Africans from different regions. So we're gonna hop right into that rabbit hole, and then we're gonna end the live with that. Right? But give me 1 second while the word comes back.
Yeah. My daughter and I had to go get her.
Yo,
But yeah, but what I was saying about that, like throughout the ages of time, like when you look at the Sumerian, you'll have a trinity. You'll have Anu, Enlil, and Enki. And later on, when you get into like the Akkadian Babylonian, closer to the Mesopotamian time, that's when you hear the word Marduk. Give me 1 second. Okay, give me 1 second. Didi, give me 1 second. Yeah, it's 5 o'clock, baby. Okay, wait, mommy will be home in 2 hours. I will get this. Okay, I'm about to get it. So when you, so like when you, Marduk is actually in the Bible. Oh, now what is wrong with you now? Okay, mama, I got you.
We're on daddy duties today.
Okay. So Marduk is actually in the Bible, and Marduk, like when you look up Jewish folklore, when they talk about people getting, I don't, was you in that live when I was saying hell was a real place?
Yep. You
That's
broke it
what
down.
they used to sacrifice people to Marduk in the place they call hell. They used to sacrifice to the god Marduk. Well, Marduk is a Sumerian god. That's the son of Enki. Like when you was watching that last video, that's the son of Enki. So and Marduk later translated into the Alman or the Alman. I'll be right back.
Word will be right back. He on daddy duty right now. He'll be right back. Give me 1 second, guys.
Well, it's hard to know who's true and who's fake in a world where appearances are hard to shake. But real love is deeper than a profile pic. It's in the way that someone makes your soul click. So let's not get lost in the digital haze. Let's remember what real love truly conveys. It's not about followers or online fame, but a connection that sets our hearts aflame. In this world of make-believe, they all wear a smile. But behind the scenes, it's just the clever guys, puppets in their show, dancing in their stage. We're all just pieces of their charade. Beneath their mask of joy lies the tangled web, where secrets and deceits are carefully bred. Their lovey-dovey act is just for display. We're all caught up in their twisted play. So let's break free from this illusion so grand and see through the facade with hearts unplanned. No longer pawns in their game of don't roll. Karma just catches. In the shadows we see a love so pure and meek, but all that's left is a ghostly echo, a memory bleak, longing for a bond that's true in this world so cold and weak, yearning for the love we knew before the all turned antique, lost in illusions of affection, bleeding like the mist, hollow hearts yearn for connection, any realm dismissed, seeking solace in echoes of the past where love truly exists, but all we find are mere reflections of what loved ones kissed. Amidst the ruins of our hearts, we search for something real, yet all we grasp are faded echoes of what used to appeal in this world where love has become just a commodity to steal. It's just a little food for thought.
Really, parents, yo.
That right there was that poem right there. That's I listen to that like twice a day, man. That's fire, bro. That is fire. That one right there. That's one of the ones, right? I'm telling you that gets you tingling when you listen to it.
That shit real though. Like, that's how this world is though. If you really
All
look
facts,
at it,
man.
take a dive, down that rabbit hole. That's how this world will leave you looking at it.
Yeah, I wanna do a live. I wanna co-host on your when you talking about like consciousness because I try to lead people and get I don't want to put too much on people at one time, so I try to lead them to different understanding. And listening to that last one when it was talking about consciousness, a lot of times like if you look up the you get it on. My daughter is crazy. My bad, man. She get excited when she get oranges. But
That's
when
how our
you
kids
was
do that.
when they was talking about consciousness, if you notice, they always equate the consciousness to the soul. I mean, to the spirit, and never the soul. And oftentimes, people associate or they try to say that consciousness is the soul, like they're the same thing, and it's not. But I'm gonna break it down even more because I feel like people got a general understanding when I was saying like the soul is a fragment of the creator. Your consciousness is you. But when we talk about a trinity, we have to combine mind, body, and soul. So
One on one.
yeah, I'm gonna take them down deeper the rabbit hole, and I'm gonna show you why. Like even when they talk about consciousness going into different dimensions, I can break all that down. I'm gonna break it all down, but I think we at a place where we can comprehend and understand. So yeah, we're gonna get deeper in that. But I love to do a co-stream with you about it.
Yeah, I've been trying to do the cool stream, but my ass when I hop on the panel, I be so caught up in what you be saying, I be forgetting sometimes. Sometimes I remember, sometimes I forget.
I'm gonna break that 666. I know I've been saying that for what almost a year now. I'm gonna break that 666 down. It's just it's a lot. I got a lot on my plate. It's doing like 7 things at once, but
Parents' things are different. That's why I be telling people, like, yo, man, I appreciate those that got the patience with me. Like, sometimes I say I'm gonna come back and I can't come back because at the end of the day, I got a real life to deal with.
mhm.
So it's like, and I appreciate those that be waiting sometimes a week, 2 weeks for me to actually get back to the topic that we left on, because it's not easy. We got little kids. It don't be that easy to just hop on a live and stay there hours. That's why I take advantage when I do it on the weekends, and I'm like, all right, let's do it a couple hours. That way y'all can hop on a panel, y'all can talk. Like,
But that's why I try to make things in a way like most people can comprehend philosophy. Most people can comprehend psychology. That's easy to break down because all that stuff is tangible. But all
let
these
me
things are connected. So it's just how you bring it together.
ask you a question. When you dive down the rabbit hole, right, and you look at our ancestors, right, the majority of them, especially the Hispanics and the blacks, right, um, when you look at it, a lot of them, right, have been called doctors and teachers, and a lot of them didn't grow up, didn't know how to write, read, or none of that. They just went into it because somehow they bought their freedom. You see where I'm coming from? Like they've made it towards where they were supposed to make it to, like breaking the chains of society. And I'm not saying doing it dirty. Some of them made it up that ladder playing fair. And it's crazy as hell, right? They learned how to do all these things by observing. A lot of them, they wasn't scientists or none of that. They grew up in farms learning how to garden. That's how they learned about physics, astrology, and much more besides what they was being handed down to them. I don't know if I'm explaining myself right, but see, like I feel as though that men like you, my baby pops, come from that type of cloth. Not everybody is built from the same cloth.
No, you're right because like when you look at our ancestors, everything was practical. They learned from practicing, from doing things. Like the more you do things and you observe what you're doing, you understand how it functions and operates. Nowadays, people just read books and regurgitate what somebody else discovered within the book themselves. But what you don't understand, a lot of this information is old. So just by regurgitating it, you may have new knowledge or the missing link to what they didn't have. So that's why it's important to practice. That's why I tell people like people only reason people get upset about religion is because they don't know it and they're just regurgitating stuff. Then you come with facts and they looking at it like, how is this true? Practice it and you will see. Like it was one young bull was like, how do you know you got a soul? Because look at my deeds, look at my action. You can't see the soul. No, you can't physically see it, but you can feel it. And if you don't feel it, that's probably because you don't have one. And that's just the reality.
Facts.
I mean, and so if you look through all these ancient texts, you will see there were multiple type of people created. Like even in the Numa list, like when they was saying, okay, Nana, what's you beatboxing for? My bad.
They got you busy today.
Man, she yeah.
All right, baby.
But okay,
Something
get that.
wrong here.
Go get that.
Mine's is right here too, right behind me.
Go get that for that.
Ooh.
But like in the Numa list, it tell you it was two type of people made. One that was just fractured or structured, and then it was one that Inky put a piece of himself inside. So you got two different creations. In the Bible, it tells you, yes, it tells you God made man and woman simultaneously and told them to go fruitful. But then there's another creation story where God made Adam and then created Eve from the rib. That's two different type of
Mm-hmm.
people. And when you look at those two different type of people, Adam and Eve didn't have knowledge or awareness until they ate the apple. The other people already had it because they were made in the image and likeness of God.
Facts. And in the midst of it, they only mentioned their two sons. I'm sitting here like, y'all not peep that in between that they did have two daughters, because if y'all look in the history books, they're mentioned.
Oh yeah, they got Adam and Eve they actually had 6 kids. But,
Mm-hmm.
but see, that's what I'm saying. You gotta go. But see, now even that, right? So now when you're talking about the Bible, the King James Version got 66 books, right?
Yep.
Let her sit in here with you for 1 second. King James Version got 66 books. You can go to the Ethiopian Bible, they got 88. But it's more books, or it's not even books, because they're written on papyrus, right? So they got more scrolls. And a lot of those scrolls, they call them Gnostic or Apocrypha texts, right? That's what was
Facts.
eliminated out of the Bible because those had a lot of spirituality into it. If you look throughout the Bible, there's no spirituality in the Bible. It's all outside of you. It's all having you worship something outside of you to bring inside. But when you look at the book of Thomas, it tells you about the teachings of Jesus. And you start learning Jesus was meditating. Jesus was doing Reiki healing. You know, it teaches you all these techniques in the Apocrypha text of Thomas. Then they have, even Revelation, John is a whole, I think it was like 7, 8 chapters. They don't quote me, I think it was like 7 to 8 chapters of Revelations that they eliminated from the book of John, or the book of Revelations that John wrote. So when you go look at that, it kind of contradicts what they got in the Bible. So you just gotta, when you're looking at those religions, you gotta look at the historical aspects and see what was the political climate then, because all that stuff was used to control the masses, man. That's just the reality, you know. Just like they do it now. They have you being obedient, because you have to do this, you have to suffer on this planet and reap your reward when you die. So, I mean, that's just the concept. You know, you suffer here, you endure here, and if you endure here and do all the right things, when you die, you go to paradise. You know, that shit ain't true, but yeah, we definitely gonna link up. Let me jump down, because my kids, boy, now they jumping on the bed tripping. But
That's how kids are. You ain't wrong. They removed a couple. You ain't wrong. It's just, I think somebody says it's like 12 chapters of John was removed. Damn.
Yeah, it's, man, you got so many. You got the Book of Mary Magdalene. You got the I'm just trying to think of some good ones off the top of my. Okay, I get it. Got it. You want this? I get you this. I'm trying to bribe her with something for a minute, but yeah, I got a homeboy who he studied ancient African culture. He actually had a PhD in ancient African culture, and I cannot remember the goddess name, but he said that's the oldest deity they found, and it was the goddess of the womb, like the goddess of everything. Like everything came from darkness, and
Damn.
yeah, and they got a lot of statues. They got a lot of statues of her, and okay, mama. Okay, let me hop down. They don't fit more.
All right, well, I'm gonna see you when you go live on your next live, and we, hop on, we talk.
All right, I appreciate you. So yeah, I might do an open panel tonight. It depends if Gary goes live. Because there's a lot of stuff going on, boxing matches, wrestling. So we're gonna be on the sports channel tonight.
Oh shit. Okay. I mean, if they talk about wrestling, I'll definitely check out. I don't know nothing about boxing or sports.
Man, look, okay, you don't even have to know about sports. We'll just be over there talking. We'll be over there having fun. But you'll learn.
Drop the link for me down there, because I think I only got his regular channel.
Yeah, G or Commander, when I drop the link for it. Shout out to the 9 too, man. Shout out, appreciate y'all, man.
Appreciate you, guys. Make sure y'all go check out the Word, man. I appreciate him coming up here. Thank you so much, Word. I really appreciate you. I gotta give you your respect now, man. But yeah, guys, make sure y'all go check out the Word, man. Now y'all see why he be on that late night stuff. You see why sometimes I be on that late night. He's got two. He got thing 1 and thing 2. One little boy, one little girl. I got a mini me over here because the other 2 are grown already. So that's why, the majority of the time, as parents, we go on some late night stuff, not on some late night shit, for real, for real. And as y'all can see, sometimes at the time I can't even go. Like, so, man, I'm grateful for my baby pops the same way that I know that Word is grateful for his wife, yo, because it's not easy being a parent trying to do this podcasting thing, for real, for real. I'm definitely going to tune in tonight to Word, right? I appreciate him. Make sure y'all go check him out. Man, you do not want to miss out on his topic show. But that was a little bit right there. That video was not new. That was a throwback right there. And it's not even a Thursday, it's a Saturday. So let's continue with these 2 videos because I'm in the live with these 2 videos, man. Appreciate your work. You guys, make sure y'all go check him out. Apologize for my baby pops. He was being a cable man over here. I'll be telling y'all I'm gonna pop him one day in his sleep and I'm gonna record it. But yo, let's watch these 2 videos, right? We're gonna dive down the rabbit hole on our ancestry, right? We be having fun doing this, man. I appreciate everybody. Make sure y'all sub up, right? If y'all haven't subbed up, sub up. Shorty, listen, I don't schedule lives. I just pop up. All right. So let's get this started. African writing and its place in world history, y'all.
The primary recipe.
I'm not on the right channel. We ain't doing that. We ain't got time for no ads. Here we go.
The invention of writing is considered a primary recipe for human civilization. Writing systems have been observed and investigated throughout the world. But oftentimes, the history of writing and other forms of communication on the African continent, aside from ancient Egypt, has been underrepresented in the larger discourse of world studies. Today, I wanted to honor some of the writing forms of Africa and include it in a larger discussion of world history.
Hey! Ooh.
We're back from Royal Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and contributing to this content. On Patreon, you can find more in-depth courses on African history. And a word from my sponsors, Mizizi International, meaning roots.
All right, yo, we've had fun diving down this rabbit hole, right? And we're not here to offend anybody, right? You've got to be open-minded to, go down this journey with us, to dive down this rabbit hole, right? We've learned about so many cultures, about so many ethnicities, from the Tainos to the Geechees to the Haitians to the, Jamaican Tainos and much more. We've learned about the Moors. We've learned about, the Spaniards taking over, the Europeans, the lies about Christopher Columbus, right, and much more. We've learned that, in this era, right, we're in 2025, and we still have living pure Tainos, right, in the islands of Puerto Rico, in the islands of Haiti, in the islands of Jamaica, Africa, and much more, right? Our ethnicities, as far like we've learned that there's different Africans, right, different indigenous people, different African indigenous people out here, right? Different tribes, right? It's not just one African tribe. So we've learned so much, right? Down this journey, diving down the rabbit hole, right? We've learned about the presidents and much more. We've learned about Black Mexicans, right? We've learned about the Black British. Like, we're learning so much, and that's the whole point of this, right? So many of us are so confused. Some of us don't even know where we come from, right? And like I said, how much of our history, can we believe, right? When throughout time, they've tried to wipe down our history, try to erase our history, right? Try to wash it down, rewrite it, right? It's to the point where, I be thinking, even Word had me thinking the other day, right? Was it Word? No, I think it was We Unlock Nation. I forgot, who was it? I was on somebody's panel, right? And it even had me thinking, like, damn, like, if they try to rewrite our history on what happened to our ancestors, what makes us think that they didn't rewrite our tribal names? And on that note, guys, let's get back to this video because I want to play these 2 last videos, right? I'm going to spend some time with my baby pops, fall back with him and my daughter. And then, stay tuned. I mean, I'm gonna try to be on time on Words Live tonight because normally I'll be late on that show. But I'm gonna try to be on time so that I can host with Word, and that way we can get people on this side and on his panel, together. And y'all can test his noggin, man, because he loves that shit.
Since Swahili is the official sportswear brand celebrating the African diaspora. They currently sell sports jerseys representing different Black cultures from all across the world, which includes African, Caribbean, and Latin American countries. They also have partnerships with Marvel, Disney, and Viacom, and released official jerseys for Black Panther, The Lion King, and Coming to America. If you're interested in supporting a stylish, high-end Black-owned brand, visit Mazizishop.com. Links to Mazizi and Patreon in the description box below. To begin, I think a very important perspective to have as it concerns the African continent's contribution to world history is the clear influence of an African writing form on the Mediterranean world. The writing form originating in the Nile Valley, popularly known as Egyptian hieroglyphs, went on to spark the invention of other writing forms such as Phoenician and ultimately Greek itself. Phoenician was borrowed from Egyptian and Greek from Phoenician. And this cultural diffusion can be observed all the way into the invention of Latin and ultimately the English alphabet. When it comes to popular human writing forms that survived through the ages, it's clear that African people contributed greatly, and that perspective isn't highlighted enough. Unfortunately today, the average layman has a tendency to view African people as never have invented their own writing form, or their idea of effective communication throughout history only accommodates a Western paradigm. These ideas, among others, contribute to Africa's exclusion from the discourse of writing in world history. The truth is, Africans have appropriated, adopted, rejected, invented, incorporated, and exported scripts for centuries, and through an extraordinary range of literacies, have produced some of the world's most astonishing and engaging forms of graphic expression and writing. Africans have been developing writing and graphic symbols since ancient times. This has been done with great ingenuity and creativity. Unfortunately, as mentioned before, these writing forms and styles of communication have not been deemed appropriate for Western standards. Traditional studies in anthropology, art history, writing, and literacy are certainly important intellectual genres for defining writing and script. But according to some scholars, they also underscore how non-Western approaches have been marginalized in Western histories of writing. Indeed, it has only been in the past few decades that scholars have begun to address Africa's important place in that history, and to consider graphic and mnemonic systems that emphasize alternative forms of knowledge and communication, and expand ideas of literacy in Africa and its diasporas.
So basically, he's trying to say that the original writing and languages originate from African tribes, right? It doesn't matter which tribe, but it all originate from those tribes. So I guess it changed, when the Europeans took over, when the British, handed the Bible, different languages and stuff like that came about.
For the scholarly world, in general, scripts have been defined as a system of interrelated symbols used to encode and transmit meaning. Africa can be seen to be a sort of mixed bag, because some African writing forms do conform to this idea and others may not. At times, it can be seen to be a subjective matter. The African continent, specifically below the Sahara, can certainly be in the discussion of writing forms, depending on how a particular scholar defines it. In Africa, these scripts take a variety of forms. Some are phonetic alphabets in which letters or characters represent the sounds of a language, while others are ideographic, comprising abstract symbols that convey concepts, ideas, or things. All of these scripts possess a dramatic, visual power that has inspired artists to deploy them in a myriad ways and contexts. Whether inscribed on ritual or everyday objects, textiles, the human body, or in books, these African scripts are more than technologies of communication. They constitute versatile, aesthetically potent ways of knowing and affecting the world. This definition of a script presented by these scholars represents a distancing from the Western paradigm that has historically denied African inclusion. So what are some African scripts that abide by the Western world's rules? Some African scripts outside of Egypt that can be traditionally accepted are the Meroitic and Ge'ez scripts of Eastern Africa. Throughout its history, the Nubian kingdom of Kush utilized writing. Because of Egypt's strong cultural influence, Kush had long based its writing system on hieroglyphics. But when the center of the kingdom moved south to Meroe, a new
I ain't gonna sit here and lie. I thought Kush was some type of bud, some type of herb. But it was a language? I ain't know.
Meroitic script began to emerge. Meroitic script was used to communicate throughout the kingdom of Kush. It was an African script that was used to document history and other state matters. Because of this, Meroitic fits nicely with Western standards. Also, the Ge'ez script of Ethiopia was used in writing the Amharic language and dates to around 300 CE. The Ge'ez script became the primary written language of Ethiopia and was used to not only document the lives of saints and religious matters, but also record the acts of royalty. Before we discuss writing forms in Africa marginalized by Western paradigms, I wanted to speak on a little-known writing form known amongst the Kumba priesthood of the Songhai. Throughout African history, literacy in writing was usually only reserved for the elites. It was a privilege. This was true for Egypt and also other parts of the African continent. The elite Songhai priesthood apparently invented their own writing form displayed here. This writing form...
Yeah, so around this time, not everybody was allowed to read or write. So it wasn't because of slavery that, that was about. I guess that the people not reading and writing came out before the slavery shit. But basically only kings and pharaohs and stuff like that, like scientists and doctors were the only ones that were allowed to read and write, I guess. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Was from a sort of secret society and seemed to be used exclusively for religious purposes. We were only recently made aware of this writing form around 2010 by a Songhai scholar named Hasimi Maiga. The only documented evidence of this script seems to come from his book. If this secret script turns out to be true, then it only amplifies the need to study the history of writing on the African continent, and it demonstrates how we've grossly underserved it in the world history narrative. One African writing form called Nsibidi is somewhat sidelined in traditional approaches to writing. It doesn't seem to receive the credit it deserves due to its ideographic nature. Nsibidi is an ancient system of graphic communication indigenous to the Ijam peoples of southeastern Nigeria and southwestern Cameroon in the Cross River region. It is also used by neighboring Ibibio, Efik, and Igbo peoples. Aesthetically compelling and encoded, Nsibidi does not correspond to any one spoken language. It is an ideographic script whose symbols refer to abstract concepts, actions, or things, and whose use facilitates communication among peoples speaking different languages. Nsibidi clearly breaks the rules of the West.
I'm confused. So is this one language that, but like, could sit here and translate every language? Kind of like, no. Well, yeah, because if somebody that speaks, can't any language translate any other language if they understand the language? You just confused me. Can there be a such thing as one language that describes all languages? Or
graphic script whose symbols refer to abstract concepts, actions, or things, and whose use facilitates communication among peoples speaking different languages. Nsibidi clearly breaks the rules of the Western standard as it relates to writing, but it is a legitimate communication form. Though it is enjoyed as an artistic practice by the general public, deeper knowledge of the nearly 1,000 Nsibidi symbols is restricted to members of men's associations that once controlled interethnic trade and maintained social and political order in the region. Nsibidi signs can be drawn in the air as gestures or on the ground, as well as on skin as tattoos. houses, and art forms such as masks and textiles. Like many other African writing systems, Nsibidi is often used to mediate social relationships rather than to simply document ideas and information.
I'm
The
confused.
purpose of Nsibidi seems to steer away from a Western paradigm concerning how writing should be legitimately used. However, it was still an effective way of communicating the economic, social, and political needs of the time. In fact, according to Dr. Tolagbe Ogunleyi, enslaved Africans used Nsibidi and other African ideographic forms as war stratagems for settlements they founded to escape slavery.
Was it a made up language that only only a few was able to talk it, right? And allowed to talk it. So I mean, was it a made up language that only a few knew about and understood?
Were able to communicate in
Right?
ways that was not disrupted or decoded by their adversaries. This creative form of communication clearly met the needs and concerns of the people in that time. This idea may be used as a guide or a starting point in truly understanding and defining writing in human history. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help in its continued development, consider supporting.
I mean, I think I kind of understood. I mean, I feel as though that, I mean, it's not an original language. I think it was a made up language that they made for just, certain people. But then, how does it explain that English language? Sure. I mean, I think everybody could translate something and they understood whatever language was being said to them. Shit. But let's move on to the second video. Let us surely know what y'all think about, African writing and its place in world history.
As I continue my
So now we're going to go comparing biographies of enslaved Africans from different regions. I don't know why I keep trying to say different.
string of videos on the Atlantic slave trade, I thought it important to show some of the dynamics of what happened in those dark times. There tends to be a lot of confusion about parts of our past, and this leads to alternative narratives about who we are and what happened. As I preach so often on this channel, it's pivotal that we understand our history from a proper historical perspective, and I think the story of these two men sheds light on what was going on in Africa during this chaotic time. What if African world is enslaved Africans? This video may be difficult for some to view because I warned the diaspora that this video may be difficult for some to view because I will be quoting the accounts of two former enslaved Africans. So please consider that before going any further. When the larger empires of West Africa fell, principally the Songhai Empire in 1591, it created a huge power gap throughout the region as various African ethnic groups ambitiously attempted to fill that gap, creating utter chaos. West Africa became oversaturated with kingdoms that never really advanced out of survival mode. The kingdom of Dahomey can be seen as a good example of this, as they were constantly targeted by the Yoruba. Dahomey became increasingly militarized to protect itself from their slaving efforts. Unfortunately,
And that's another tribe that we've been learning a lot about, the kingdom of Dahomey. And it's crazy how it's mentioned in the Black Panther and in the movie Woman King.
Fortunately, for many kingdoms, some semblance of economic stability came in the form of Europe's demand for enslaved Africans. And as we all know, this was an unequal exchange and not stable in the slightest. Via hindsight, West Africa as a whole did not at all benefit from the depopulation of entire regions. Trade along the coast became a way in which these kingdoms thought they could survive in the competitive market for supremacy. Like I preach all the time, there simply was just too much diversity in Africa for the solidification of large, long-lasting states. It was inevitable that one ethnic group would rise above the other in a repetitive cycle. There are hundreds of languages spoken in just Nigeria alone, and especially in those times, most of them did not identify with each other. There existed no unity in that sense. Your ethnic or linguistic identity was the only thing in which you remained loyal. And so, given that historical perspective, the stories of Ayuba Diallo and Olada Equiano make perfect sense. I say that because even though the circumstances in which these two men were enslaved are vastly different, their stories exemplify the context I laid out previously. In other words, we in the diaspora are products of victims and victimizers, and their stories will hopefully help us understand why. Ayuba Diallo was a Fulani merchant of a well-to-do family in Bondu in the Senegambia region. In 1730, Ayuba was returning to his home in Bondu, having traveled some 300 miles to the Gambia River to sell to people and buy paper and other provisions. On his way home, he stopped to rest at the home of a friend. Because he was with a friend, he removed his weapons and armor, making himself vulnerable to capture. According to Ayuba's narrative, documented by Thomas Bluet, it happened that a company of Mandingos who live upon plunder, passing by at that time and observing him unarmed, rushed in to the number of 7 or 8 at once at a back door and pinioned him, together with his interpreter, who is a slave in Maryland still. They then shaved their heads and beards, which Ayuba and his man resented at the highest indignity.
And this is from somebody.
Though the Mandingos meant no more by it than to make them appear like slaves taken in war, rather than in a raid meant solely for capturing slaves. On the 27th of February, 1730, they carried them to Captain Pike at Gambia, who purchased them, and on the 1st of March, they were put on board. Now, there's a lot we can take from Ayuba's account, but 3 things stick out that are pivotal to our understanding of what was going on in this part of Africa in the 18th century. First, we learned that Ayuba was also trading in slaves, and just so happened to get enslaved himself. Whether you empathize with him or not, that was the reality for many people on the African continent. Ayuba certainly was not the first African slaver to get enslaved himself. We know in general that the Fulani ethnic group were heavily involved in slave trading, and again, many of them also were enslaved, as in the case of Ayuba. The second observation through this account proves my other point about African diversity. Ayuba was apparently traveling with his interpreter. Now, to be fair, we don't know if his interpreter was someone who could speak one of the European languages, or if he was there so that Ayuba could speak with other African merchants. So that's important to note. But given that many African languages were spoken in that region alone, at the very least, it's a reasonable assumption that his interpreter spoke other African languages so that he would be able to trade with an African middleman. If this is true, this makes a larger point. Why would a Pan-African identity exist back then when most Africans couldn't even communicate with one another with ease? Ayuba was one of the...
Wait, he was considered Pan-African? And I swear we reacted to him because he migrated from one place to another. And they broke down the story a little more. I'm gonna have to go back to that live.
Very elite in African society, and even he needed an interpreter. But again, this is only valid if my theory is correct. The last takeaway from this account is the fact that the Mandinka slavers shaved Ayuba's head in an attempt to make him look like a war captive, hence making it legal. This is a huge revelation because even though there were legal ramifications concerning who could actually be enslaved, there were still many who were not enslaved legally. And as a side note, I'm hoping we could look past the immoral ramifications of that statement to understand the larger historical point. Of course, no nation...
Basically, he was the reason why the Mandingo people were captured. So one of them decided to sit here and get revenge and get back. I mean, man, karma is real. It is really real.
On earth has any legal right to dehumanize people. Anyway, this proves just how chaotic it was and how these hybrid kingdoms were in a desperate state of survival, trying to keep up and compete with others. Olada Equiano was also enslaved in the 18th century, just after Ayuba. Olada was just an 11-year-old boy when he was enslaved. He was a member of the Igbo ethnic group in Nigeria, and even though his story is different, the historical tune is consistent. Ayuba was fortunate because he was the very elite within African society, and his slavers quickly noticed that in America. In the case of Olada, He was pretty much an average boy from the countryside. Olada tells us that with permission of greedy chiefs, slavers came to his village. One day, when all our people were gone out to their work as usual, and only I and my dear sister were left to mind the house, 2 men and a woman got over our walls, and in a moment seized us both. And without giving us time to cry out or make resistance, they stopped our mouths and ran off with us into the nearest wood.
Oh, wow.
Here, they tied our hands and continued to carry us as far as they could till night came on, when we reached a small house where the robbers halted for refreshment and spent the night. We were then unbound, but were unable to take any food, and being quite overpowered by fatigue and grief, our only relief was some sleep. What stood out to me about this account was that Olada identified a woman involved as well. I've only heard of women slavers in the context of the Dahomey Amazons enslaving Yoruba captives. Anyway, Olada was a child and he was still legally enslaved, whereas Ayuba was not legally enslaved. Ayuba came from an elite family and Olada did not. We're not made aware of the ethnic group that captured Olada, but it seems as though they were local. In the end, because of the various kingdoms that competed against each other in their struggle for dominance and supremacy, lawlessness and greed was the law of the land. Your ethnic group, religion, or age seemed to not be a factor. All were subject to enslavement. And so, the picture painted by the biographies of Ayuba and Olada reflect quite accurately 18th century Africa. If we want to gain some insight about what was going on in Africa during the Dark Ages and how everything happened, their stories are an excellent starting point. Our history is complex. Ayuba was as much a victimizer as he was a victim, and Olada was 100% victim, maintaining all innocence. If we really want to understand our history from a proper historical lens, we have to acknowledge the full scope. I believe it is from this position that we can truly heal. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help in this
it gets deep, yo. Like I got so much in my head right now when it comes to these topics. I'm saying it's like, but it's logic. You can see what's real and you can see what's false when you see these videos, when you read these books. And I feel as though that a lot of us can figure out, where we come from, the real name of our tribes and stuff like that, if we, do enough research, right? And stop going with the misinformation, with the trends and much more like that, man. We have to, figure out what really happened in the past, right, to understand what's going on in this present, to see if we can make a change for the future. So on that note, guys, man, that's all the time that a shorty has for y'all. I hope that y'all enjoyed the stream, man. Keep sharing. Hopefully, if y'all enjoyed the stream, smash that like button for a shorty, man. If you didn't, the dislike button's right there. And if you haven't subbed up, make sure you do, because a shorty doesn't schedule lives. I just pop up, y'all. On that note, till next time, this y'all shorty Rachel. I hope all of y'all have a blessed and humble day. Continue to have a blessed and humble afternoon. And a shorty out.
In the old days, love was pure and true. Now it's just a show for all to view. People use it for their own gain, leaving hearts in sorrow and pain. Once a sacred bond, now just a game. Hearts are broken, never quite the same. Love used to be a beacon bright, now it's lost in the shadows of the night. Oh, how we long for those days of yore, when love was honest forevermore. But now it's twisted, tainted and cruel, leaving us drowning in an endless pool. What can we do? In the spiritual world, all seems bright, but shadows lurk in the dead of night. Half of humanity wears a wicked guise, evil deeds hidden behind virtuous eyes. Beneath the surface, in darkness lies, masks of deceit veiling their lies. In this realm where good and evil collide, the line between them is blurred, hard to decide. So tread carefully in this world so grand, for not all that glitters is gold in the sand. In the spiritual realm where illusions endure, evil and good dance in eternal obscure. Just imagine that. Karma doesn't ask you how you want it, it just comes and take it. So be careful how you treat others on your way up the ladder, cause your way down, trust me, In a world of empty stares, fake love fills the air. Sincerity's distant glare, leaving hearts in deep despair. Truth is lost in a web of lies, hiding behind deceitful eyes. Love that fades and slowly dies, leaving us with heavy sighs. Aching souls in a loveless land, yearning for a genuine hand, but fake love rules with cruel demand, leaving us to understand. In this age of like and retweets, we've forgotten what real love truly means. It's not just about show and tell, but a feeling that makes our hearts swell. It's hard to know who's true and who's fake in a world where appearances are hard to shake. But real love is deeper than a profile pic. It's in the way that someone makes your soul click. So let's not get lost in the digital haze. Let's remember what real love truly conveys. It's not about followers or online fame, but a connection that sets our hearts aflame. In this world of make-believe, they all wear a smile. But behind the scenes, it's just the clever guys, puppets in their show, dancing in their stage. We're all just pieces of their charade. Beneath their mask of joy lies the tangled web, where secrets and deceits are carefully bred. Their lovey-dovey act is just for display. We're all caught up in their twisted play. So let's break free from this illusion so grand and see through the facade with hearts unplanned. No longer pawns in their game of charade. Let's find our own path and not be swayed. I feel like I'm surrounded with people with strings attached to their back, waiting for their master's command. It's like when I was little, right, and I was reading Pinocchio. Every time that he told a lie, his nose grew. It's just that, you know, in real life, their noses don't grow. Karma just catches. In the shadows we see, a love so pure and meek, but all that's left is a ghostly echo, a memory bleak, longing for a bond that's true in this world so cold and weak, yearning for the love we knew before the all turned antique, lost in illusions of affection, bleeding like the mist, hollow hearts yearn for connection in a realm dismissed, seeking solace in echoes of the past where love truly exists, but all we find are mere reflections of what love once kissed. Amidst the ruins of our hearts, we search for something real, yet all we grasp are faded echoes of what used to appeal in this world where love has become just a commodity to steal. It's just a little food for thought.